Good evening, everybody. Nick Eastwood here for Ace-8 Poker alongside my good friend Aaron Baroni. How are we doing, Aaron? This is the main event. It's Rakeless. Are you excited?
I'm very excited. Brand new lighting. Hopefully I look more brighter to the audience. But we got a lot to get through, so I'll throw it back to you.
I was coming a little bit, well, I'm ruining that but I was coming through a little bit more shiny than you were, so we've had to adapt your background to suit that. Anyway, lots to get through, as you just said. Very importantly, we must get to a few announcements / things going on in today's stream in particular are very, very exciting. So we are going to lock in and get those to you right now. Free roll password right away, guys. 888-MID-JUN. 888-MID-JUN. If you'd like to play Ace-8 Poker TV client, go to the Ace-8 Poker TV special free roll and enter the password 888-MID-JUN. You'll be able to find that in the chat as well. That's done. Next up, what have we got? Player picks. Player picks. My first pick this week. I am very excited to get my first pick in and lock it in right away. Listen, tried multiple strategies, going with the funny names, going with the average stake, going with the bounty just to annoy you. We are going back to the status quo, if you get my drift. Aaron Baroni. I'm picking really Zac Efron. Really Zac Efron. And yeah, basically, that is my pick. And the reason is because I'm going to bop to the top.
That's a great pick. I was actually going to pick them. I think the username has the OMG Clay Aiken vibes of Phil Galfond back in the day. That's really well done. They've already also won the main event before. So I'm going to pick a different previous main event winner and go with Alex Megakill, who already has a 3K bounty. And so they have a chance to win the tournament, get a 3K bounty, and do one extra thing that I'm sure you'll talk about, which is win the 10K bounty.
I definitely will talk about that. And yeah, you'll be hoping that they can get the head in the game. But I think Zac Efron has got the edge just there. And I'll bet on that. So as we move into the real meat and potatoes of things, guys, we have some important things to go over. Every week, Aaron, I ask you, because I'm so confused, how is it that someone that is not on our final table can win more money than someone that is? And this week, I can't possibly ask you that question. You're not going to be able to explain that to me. What you are going to have to explain to me as our resident expert is how the presence of a $10,000 bounty, which is what we have today, that is the equation we are dealing with. The $10,000 bounty has not been taken. How does the presence of that bounty change everybody's strategy? Because usually at this point, we're playing somewhat of a chippy V, if you like, nerdy terms, strategy, trying to get the most chips possible, preserve our stack, let a few short stacks come off. But now there is more money available in one of these envelopes than there is at the top of this prize pool. How do you approach a final table under those circumstances? Aaron Baroni.
So everything changes here, right? It's obviously very exciting for the players. It's very exciting for, the viewers, and exciting for us to commentate, because $10,000 is in one envelope. First place, I believe, is about $8,000. So people should be hunting for that bounty. We should see a lot more aggressive play, especially towards the short stacks, a lot more wide calls. And just loose overall play, because, somebody could knock out a player and win 10K. So everything's different. Everything's changed. Should be really fun to sweat.
Yep. And guys, speaking of things that are really fun, the Global League is back on Ace-8 Poker. Now, if you don't know what the Global League is, guys, you're in for a treat. It is extremely fun. It is running at the moment on Ace-8 Poker. You need to be following our socials really to get involved, because that's where you'll find the passwords to free rolls to the eventual big events towards the end of the week. And if you're after a quick rundown, I'll give it to you right now. The Global League is back with an updated format, and we're bringing together an individual leaderboard competition and national representation. So you'll be playing for your country, which we think is really cool. Play the weekly free rolls, and then you qualify for that week's main tournament. And that is where you can earn points to climb the leaderboard and secure your spot in your country's final 11 to compete for glory and prizes. So check out !Global if you guys are interested in playing, and follow Ace-8 Poker on Instagram. That is where we are giving away all the passwords to all the free rolls, where you can qualify for those main tournaments and get yourselves points for yourself and your country, move them up the leaderboard. Everyone clear?
Clear.
Sound good, Aaron?
Sounds pretty good. I had written those things down. I was going to jump in at some point if you missed something, but you pretty much nailed every main point of the Global League. Really well done.
Well, thank you very much. And with a minute to spare, we can get to the last and maybe the most important thing we have to do before today starts. And that is Ambassador of the Week. Aaron Baroni, who is it?
Okay, so Ambassador of the Week, I'm not going to spend too much time going through the rationales. It's me. But the important thing about this week is that people have shown some disdain with the process. They've said, I'm biased. They want more representation in the Ambassador of the Week, and I'm going to open it to everybody. Everybody on the Ambassador team is allowed to win. They just haven't yet because they haven't earned it. But that's my opinion of it. So I want to hear your opinions, all right? So next week, I would like you to send me your suggestions, your submissions of who should win Ambassador of the Week, over me. Pick out the ambassador of your choice. Let me know, give me some good reasons why. And I will actually read some of them on stream next week when making my decision. So again, this is up to you. Your choice, your time to shine, chat. Send your submissions for Ambassador of the Week for next week. But this week, it is me.
Yep. And we don't want to hear any more complaining about the process, guys. Look, we're giving you the opportunity to feedback. I think the decision-making has been very fair. I can't see any week where I definitely would have done something different. So I don't think it's unreasonable that Aaron is the 6th month currently champion of Ambassador of the Week. Just think he is on that kind of level, deserving of repeated championships. And I don't think anyone else has done enough. I certainly haven't. So
you got second place many weeks though. Just so
there isn't a second place awarded, but I'll take your word for it. So that is pretty much everything before we get into today's FT, which should be popping up on your screens momentarily. And I'm just hoping, as we look into the chip stacks, that I've got a little bit of luck. You picked, Aaron.
Alex Megakill.
Alex Megakill, who is on the right of really Zac Efron. You could say, Aaron, they're neighbors.
Mm-hmm. This is what we've done.
Look, these aren't going to be easy for everyone today. You got to really lock in if you're going to scoop up all of these puns, okay, and these references. I'm just really hoping, personally, being on the left of Alex Megakill, I'm just really hoping that really Zac Efron can be the greatest showman of this final table.
I know, it's another movie. I know. I got it.
I didn't say anything, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. By the way, Bill Maher is sitting out. You could have picked them and made a bunch of puns as well. I'm not sure you're familiar with their work.
No, I am.
Okay.
Yes. Not as familiar. No, not as familiar. It has to be said.
But Bill is sitting out, and we've had this problem before. I feel like 3 of the last 7 final tables, someone is sitting out when it begins.
Yeah.
Big part of winning a final table, guys, is showing up.
I say that's probably the core where you should begin as a general strategy.
Look how aggressive he's playing, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, and you might want to speak to us to why that might be. I mean, we've already mentioned it, but it makes a huge amount of difference that someone here above their head is holding a $10,000 bounty.
Correct. And so that's why our chip leader is going to be opening a little wider than normal. And here they turn a straight. They can't lose unless they fold.
Yeah, they would be hoping to get some action, and especially from the button whose stack doesn't really harm them, but they get basically a 1 in 8 chance to win 10K, which seems pretty damn good to me, Aaron, when top prize is 8,140.
Yeah, normally you're playing for ladders, but the equity in that bounty might just be too big depending on whose stack you have to call off.
Yeah, and as a result of equalized covering Jack here, I don't expect to see anything other than at least a flat here to begin to attempt to get these stacks involved. There's a queen on the flop, so I think this one looking fairly safe, and Jack going to toss it over to equalize. And bluffing is a little bit different to actually having a hand that could potentially win. Obviously this hand can turn some things, but we're mostly looking for situations where we can be all in against somebody, even if we are a dog, just to give ourselves a chance. And this isn't really one of those. So you wouldn't expect equalize to be like super, super aggressive. They don't want to be relinquishing any of their chip advantage over some of the rest of the table. Obviously they are covered by Belzebub, but everyone else they do cover, and they won't want to give that up in a hurry because it is a huge, huge amount of value in that.
Yeah, and like Jack unfortunately gets no action there because nobody has a hand. But just hoping someone wants to put pressure on him and go after his bounty would be great when he has top set. Again, unfortunately, couldn't win any extra chips there. But to win a huge pot, usually someone else has to have some kind of a hand as well, or incentive to bluff. And right there wasn't any.
Yeah, so we're going to be seeing probably our most active. It depends, right? Because it is hard to know how to navigate this kind of. It's not often that you'll have a situation like this where the bounty and the top prize are like close, but the bounty is bigger. Everyone kind of knows they have to play, more hands and put themselves into more situations, but it's not exactly clear how much more risk you should be taking. So it can result in some rather peculiar situations.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the bounty format is a lot less solved, we'll call it, than other poker formats, and that makes it for a lot more different styles and plays that people just are kind of unsure about, but they're doing what they think is right, and that's what poker used to really be before the solver era. So I think it's really fun to watch. And, as one of the stacks is really short, like Sapa, when Sapa goes all in, we're going to see how wide people really want to go after him.
Yeah, and you'll see mostly from the chip stacks that are covering more than others. Like, obviously, Zac Efron could open, maybe you'd think, the 7-6 there because they do cover a couple of the stacks behind, but that really isn't enough because the incentive for all the other players to play against you is so high, it kind of hamstrings you.
Yes. Yeah. And in this spot, when you have a, big stack, it also gives you a chance to be really aggressive. But the middle stacks are more stuck than they would be in a normal situation because they have less fold equity than they would. Usually as a middle stack, you still have good fold equity, but now the big stacks are incentivized to go after you and that potential 10K bounty.
Yeah. And some of these situations are going to be extremely strange. As Sapa opened up off of that short stack and then equalize 3-bet to try and isolate them and get them all in, attempt to take their bounty, and we get a cold call from Bielsa on the button, and then the two players were in a situation that neither of them really wanted to be in. They both wanted Sapa to be involved, and it becomes this very strange spot where the ranges are unbelievably wide with two players playing each other that wouldn't normally do so. And wow, we have a situation developing here because I don't think any of these three players are going to want to get out of the way, given that Quadfisher and Jack both cover Sapa. When Sapa goes all in, Sapa knows that they're going to get called a hell of a lot wider than queens. They would hope. If it folded all the way around to Alex Megakill, we could have a very interesting conversation about what kind of hands they're supposed to call in that situation. But it won't, because Jack covers with two jacks here and Quadfisher lurking behind with two kings.
A queen dead and a jack dead as well.
And they are going to rejam, and we have a three-way all-in here for potentially a huge bounty, and Quadfisher is going to hold. Is Sapa worth 10,000? Or are they just one of the fraudulent bounties that are hiding behind this envelope? Let's have a look. It is going to be a couple of zeros, but it's a 500 and everyone fades it. And so now it's even more likely that the $10,000 bounty is on the next person.
Yeah, unfortunate for Sapa. You pick up queens, they're going to go after you wide, and somebody has kings behind. But, even though Sapa's bounty there wasn't worth it, you're worth more than 10,000, Sapa, okay? You're worth more. Good game.
Yeah, and they take away $750, and they were the shortest stack. So, it's hard to be too mad. Everyone will be slightly miffed, obviously, because the shortest stack is pretty much, all around 23 big blinds, and one of them is not here. Everyone would like a chance to play for Bill Maher's stack, but they're not able to do that if they're not here.
Yeah. I mean, now it's all the short stacks are on the same. And with one player sitting out, sometimes you want to kind of ladder, but you don't want that chip leader just to, go through everybody and abuse and, whittle you down, especially when there's a 10K bounty still in play. So again, the next ladder is worth a few $100s, which is still something, right? It'll be from 1K to 1475, but that bounty, $10,000, only 7 players left. So as, it gets players drop out basically, and the bounty has not been removed, it's just a greater chance that that next envelope has the bounty in it.
Yeah. The odds increase every single time. And as long as that bounty stays out there, it is going to be an incredibly interesting final table. We usually get some cracking final tables, but this is a dynamic that we have not seen before this year. So very interesting to see. Everyone just looking for an opportunity to get the money in. And Quad Fisher is our chip leader now, which is a huge, huge boon as you look to try and take advantage of your situation. Because right now the ladders are only around, the next one will be about $475 or exactly that much. That isn't $10,000, Aaron. So we do need to be fairly wide in our willingness to get this in against these shorter stacks. And if we do double them up, that's pretty much chip lead pot.
Yeah, it's a really interesting dynamic. I think it's more fun and interesting for the bigger stacks because they can actually play a really, really loose pre-flop strategy of, you know, you could argue that you should play any two if there's a 10K bounty still involved and try to see flops and try to outflop people. But the shorter stacks are really more in a survive, hope a good bounty spot, you know, comes up, or you pick up a really big hand and someone wants to, you know, attack you. But so far, there's been a lot of pre-flop aggression, not so much post-flop aggression, which I'm kind of surprised by. People just trying to make hands, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, especially on rivers, right? You know, bluffing is just not that good because you need them to be all in and you need to win. So you need to have a hand. And in the situations, especially like this, when you've got big stacks against big stacks, players aren't really willing to relinquish their advantage over other players. For example, if Belzer loses this pot to equalize, they're now covered by them, which may not matter that much because these guys are not incentivized to play with each other, given that they're so deep. But if something was to come to pass, then equalize has a huge advantage there because if they were to go all in, equalize has the advantage of obviously covering potentially for that big bounty.
Correct. And it's just going to be interesting to see what style these guys settle on because it's a really rare situation to have it where, you know, there is still a really big bounty in play, one bigger than the final table prize. I personally have argued that we should do tournaments like this where a huge bounty still exists at the final table because it makes FTs play so differently and it makes it even more exciting than it would be normally to make a final table. But, you know, my poll only goes so far.
Some say it doesn't go anywhere.
Well, they wouldn't be wrong. But it's a good idea. I'm really an idea man.
Yeah. We do have a fair degree of passivity as we're watching a lot of hands that just aren't really good enough to get in for our shorter stacks, and therefore our big stacks are playing lots of pots against each other because they're naturally playing more pots in general. And those guys don't want to lose chips off of their stack when the main prerogative of all these players is to be playing for those bounties against those shorter stacks. Notably, Bill Maher is still not here, though.
Yes, and the funny thing is that in these spots, you know, we haven't really seen our chip leaders go after each other. Here's the first time we see a check rate from Quad Fisher. But the players that Quad Fisher can really attack are players like Equalize and Bells, right? Because they're going to be opening super wide, the other two, trying to get the short stack bounties or short stack situations. When they get 3-bet by the chip leader or, you know, flatted, they're not going to be as aggressive.
Yeah, and you're seeing a lot of looseness. Yeah, Alex Megakill is going to jam the ace king, and Alex will know that there's a very, very high likelihood that they're going to get called here. And who will it be by? Equalize with 2 players behind. Do they think it's likely that the other two are going to go with their hands, having only called their open? It's hard to say, right? Who is in this situation that often? Yeah, and Bells as well does cover Quad Fisher with probably the most obvious opportunity to go for a bounty here. The price is quite good because there are 4 dead big blinds in there from other players. We do have Jack 10 suited, and this kind of hand is doing quite well against Ace King, although we know Equalizer's folded a Jack and a 10. There isn't one on the flop or the turn, looking for one on the river to try and play for this bounty, and unfortunately, the 7 of hearts rolls off on the river, and Alex Megakill is going to get themselves a big double that they wouldn't have normally gotten, Aaron.
And that's how the bounty changes things, right? Normally, we're not seeing that pre-flop action and the Jack 10 doesn't call. Normally, we would say, oh, wow, he called Jack 10 for that many big blinds, kind of crazy. But here, I thought folding Jack 10 would have been crazy, right? Yeah. You close out the action, you have a chance at a 10K bounty. Are you likely to get the 10K bounty? No, there's still 7 players left, but a 1 in 7 shot means, you know, call it $1,500 or so of equity in making that call. Not to mention the good prices you mentioned, Nick. So very reasonable.
Yeah, and one way that's typical to look at these things, and you will obviously have a better idea of this than me, but this is what I've heard in the past, is that you would calculate each bounty for what it's worth based on the average amount of bounty that's left. So if we have a round, let's say we have 2 $500 bounty, but one of them is gone. Yep. Let's say, for example, we do just have only the $10,000 and then a couple of little ones. Maybe we have $11,000 left in bounties total, one of them being 10,000. You would average all those bounties per number of players. So you're looking at just over 1K per bounty, and the ladders are currently less than 500. So is that what's really informing our decisions here when thinking about calling something like that off?
Yeah, you definitely want to look at the average bounty, because even though there is one 10K left, right? If there was one 10K and there was 1,000 players, it's like, well, my odds of getting out are pretty low compared to one 10K left and 7 players. Or even if there was like 4 3Ks left, it's like, well, I can't win 10, but my equity is still higher if it's, 12K total of bounties versus 10. So, it's funny when they introduced mystery bounties, when they became popular in online poker, it was a long time until somebody actually had an average bounty listed. It's still pretty rare to see, but it's, good legwork for you to do if you are playing these tournaments to know what your equity actually is.
Yep, absolutely. And it's going to get even more interesting. The more players we lose, the more that we don't lose that big bounty, it is going to be extremely interesting to see how this develops, because if we're going by average bounties, every time we lose somebody, that average bounty is getting pushed up by a good margin.
Correct.
And there's also an emotive factor in this as well, right? There's, regardless of let's average the bounties out and it's probably about 1,000, and do I have enough equity to call, and what's the ladder? There's a 10K out there, man. I want to win 10K.
And you could win 10K.
Yes, very feasibly.
Anytime you have a player covered. And here we have 4 players who are likely going to see a flop, with the 5th sitting out for somewhat playable hands, some more than others, but ace-6, ace-10, jack-10 suited for Efron. Oh, we do get a 3-bet from Equalize. Great spot, actually, I feel like, given how wide your chip leader is when you opening, or Bell's opening under the gun. And it's going to put those other 2 players in a tough spot here. Alex folds the ace-10 way ahead, and Zach Efron now also folds. Great spot for Equalize to find. I thought he would just call, but he takes the aggressive route, and as usual, that pays off.
Yeah, and as we saw earlier with the Jack-10 suited from Quad Fisher, it makes a big difference if you cover. Really, Zach Efron not interested in getting something like them because they don't cover for the bounty. You have to pay attention to the chip stacks. They make all of the difference. And we haven't actually mentioned it yet because we are excited by the 10K. I'm much less excited by the fact that Alex Megakill has got a free double as a result. Just goes to show how lucky Aaron Baroni really is.
Every time something good happens to me, it's luck.
Yes. Oh, you did know that. Okay, that's fun.
I was really just putting it out in fact. Yeah, making sure people know.
Yeah, I think it's important that everyone knows that if I win, it's skill, and if you win, it's purely luck.
Perfect. Now we've established the parameters. We can go forward.
I don't know if I can. I'm hurt. I'd like to double up.
2 points last week, or 1 point? I don't know. Enough.
I got 2 points last week, which was, some say, not enough. I need, Aaron, a miracle run.
Well, you started it last week.
It sounds like Aaron doesn't know that's a Zac Efron film. It's a lesser known one, to be fair.
I actually don't know if I've ever watched a single Zac Efron movie.
Oh, that's why you weren't getting any of my High School Musical song puns earlier.
Oh, I haven't seen High School Musical, no.
Oh, no, I've used so many. I was like, he's not getting these at all. Damn it. That's really harsh.
Hold on, let me see what movies I've ever seen. No, I haven't seen that.
Well, like, you got a couple of them.
Yeah, I've heard of them. I've seen the trailers for stuff. You said before you're not really a trailer person, which is a whole different conversation, which we should have at some point, but not now. Because now one of our players has kings.
They do have kings. And whilst they do have kings, Aaron, I don't think it's going to materialize into anything in this particular occasion. Because everyone's got terrible hands.
Yeah,
and while we do cover...
Actually might flat off in here, but the queen six just too weak.
Yeah, terrible hand. And at what point does it become like super interesting to the rest of the table that Bill Maher's just not here? Like, when does it become like obviously like they're sitting out and everyone will be aware of that, but how short does Bill get before this gets weird?
I mean, with the 10K bounty in play, you're going to care about the ladders a little bit less. Right? Yeah, another $500, cool, but there's a 10K. So I think it really gets different when the 10K goes away and then it becomes more of a traditional final table. Until then, I think Bill Maher sitting out doesn't make that big of a difference for the players. Like, again, you want to survive, but the shorter stacks are going to most likely get in what they think is the best hand. And it's going to be a really strong hand, hoping they get called light. And the bigger stacks probably will gamble with them because, you know, as we've said before, they could win 10K. So I think it's a weird situation where Bill Maher sitting out doesn't actually make that big of a difference at a final table where normally it would be huge for, you know, their players trying to outlast him. Bill Maher actually might sit out and get like top 5, top 4.
Yeah. But a big part of today's equity, as I believe we've mentioned enough, but we will continue to mention because it is so interesting and it happens so rarely. Bill Maher is not being able to play for that bounty. He still covers 2 of the players on our table without having been here, but is unable to play for those bounties. That is so much equity that they're not utilizing by just not being here.
Yeah, and here, Bells had raised flop with the worst hand, turned third pair, which was the best hand, and then bet and won the pot. Finally seeing some aggression between our co-chip leaders, we'll call it.
And I think some people may expect, and I might have been one of them before this started, that this would speed things up a little bit in terms of people getting it in more often, short stacks being at risk. But when you really break it down and think about it, these short stacks are going to need to be dealt a really good hand in order to want to put their chips in, because they know they're getting called so incredibly light. You can't shove things like 10-9 as liberally, for example, blind on blind, or maybe even this pocket sevens becomes a little bit more skewed. Maybe you end up shoving this situation just because you know you're going to get called by maybe equalize super often because the 10K's out there, and maybe something like ace 3 off even could call you, which gives you more equity. There are so many permutations of this bounty existing for both short stacks and the big stacks in terms of shoving ranges and calling off.
Yeah, and this is why this is going to play so different than pretty much every final table that we've had on here. And I think that's why it's also really fun to watch and commentate. And there it is.
Yeah, equalize is going to go for it here. Zac Efron at risk, but an ace dead in the hands of Jack as well. A 3 on the turn is not helpful, and a 4 on the river is going to brick off for Zac Efron. And in a true display of skill and not one element of luck whatsoever, Zac Efron is going to get the full double here, up to 37 big blinds.
Yeah, another 3 or an ace on that river would have been extremely wicked.
Well, you could say that, Aaron. You could say that. It would have been shockingly evil.
Just alley-oop, right?
Alley-oop, indeed. Is that a reference too?
No, it's just one. It's just mine.
Oh,
was
I
a
assume that was just
yours.
genius.
Yeah.
No, because it's in the main film that he's known for. He's a basketball player, like a sensation.
Too, yeah.
Of a
really wondering how you're going to fit in the phrase "dirty grandpa." We're waiting for you to put that one in there.
You've already done it. I was probably just going to say it at some point.
Chuck Ray is definitely evidence of a dirty grandpa.
Yeah. Well, we are on Baywatch for that $10,000 bounty as we move deeper into this tournament. Where is it lurking? We do not know. All we know is that our 2 players are still in the mix, and Zac Efron now, with a little bit more in the way of playability, covering a few more players, although only really one more player, because Jack they covered anyway, and Bill Maher's just still not here.
Yeah, I mean, it does give them more breathing room, which is really important, and they can see more flops and not feel as hamstrung. But it, you'll have to get a double up, but it wasn't like that much for their equity, which is crazy to think about. And here, just
I mean, how can you play?
Ace King gets those two hands to fold. I think chip leader versus chip leader aggression is going to print. Unless you run into a real hand or a sticky player, like you are just going to get people to release hands so much more frequently than you would normally, because their objective is to move on to the next hand, save their stack, and go after a short stack. So I think initial aggression is really good, and then combating that's really good. But these are really unexplored situations, and that's why it's so rare to see this sort of things, and it's different. It's fun for me.
Yeah, I mean, you can apply these potential strategic influences of this bounty to a lot of situations. Like Quad Fisher could do a lot of 3-betting out of the big blind usually versus a button open from the chip leader.
Yeah.
But Quad Fisher has to imagine that Bells could just say, well, I'm all in. I don't really care what you have. There's a 10K out there. Do you really want to call off with all these short stacks? Someone's sitting out. There are so many things going on in the metagame of this final table that we don't usually see. It is absolutely fascinating. And it's nice to see you a little bit out of your comfort zone as well.
Oh.
As a straight on the river for Quad Fisher, who won't be leading this river theoretically. Doesn't mean they won't. And Bells with a weak queen may decide to tap the table back here or go for some value. It is going to just be a check, and the nuts shown by Quad Fisher. So while they haven't got as much as they would have wanted, they are now going to have some breathing room with regards to bounties, which is a big deal.
Huge deal. Gives them a chance to, really you want to go after the short stacks, even though there's no one left. But here we've got 4 hands that could collide.
Yeah, but it's just the whole dynamic is just completely weird. Like Jack knows he has no fold equity, zero fold equity. So fives, where it might usually on one of our regular final tables be a good time to shove and pick up some blinds and antes, that's impossible. And a flat on the button here we see Jack doesn't cover anybody. I might have liked to see them preserve their stack in that situation, but they are going to try and flop a set. But this action is not over yet, and we could see someone like Alex convince themselves that this is a good spot. I don't think they will now, but equalize in a really horrible situation here with ace queen offsuit.
Yeah, and in a normal situation, you'd be like, well, maybe Jack has too strong of a range. Maybe I'm just going to fold this, going to ladder up. But here with the bounties in play, he goes for it. And Quad Fisher with ace Jack, you got to think your hand is crushed, but is the price too good to go after $10,000?
Yeah, and this might look insane from Equalize, but we know that it isn't, because Quad Fisher could very well just be trying to manipulate Jack stack into the middle with a wide range of hands, a lot wider than you might normally expect in this situation. Ace Queen, even there are short stacks. The operative thing going on here is not the pay jumps. It is not first prize. It is that massive bounty. And if you do not take that into consideration when making your decisions, you're going to be leaving a lot of equity on the table.
Yeah, and good fold there by Quad Fisher. I believe only one Jack left in the deck, pardon me. So he would have been in a really difficult
Efron.
Jack in the deck.
Jack goes to the fold with the King Jack. I mean, one of those hands that you'd have to imagine that you're going to get called by worse very, 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 very often. Yeah. And given that we are half of the next stack and the other player that's close to us is sitting out, which means they're not exactly about to get it in at any time soon. Maybe that was our time to go with the King Jack. Going to be just a call here from Zac Efron.
I mean, King Jack does pretty well on the Queen 10-9 rainbow.
I've heard good things about Queen 10-9 rainbow for King Jack offsuit. And Jack's got to be feeling just sick right now, because they'll be hoping that someone just boated up on the turn, because it's never nice when you see a spot where you could have taken it, decide not to, maybe even realize too late that it was a good spot, and unfortunately flop what can only be described as the stone cold brash Brazilians and not be involved.
Yeah, these are spots where you're like, oh, I hope someone has quad queens and I can feel really good about it. Quad Fisher, by the way, deciding to value bet this river, I would be surprised if he knuckles it back. Check twice to him. Second pair here.
Yeah. It's got to be clearly the best hand in this line. A value to be had, and to this big sizing as well, but Zac Efron not interested in giving up any chips, thinks he might need them for potentially calling off an all-in and attempt to win that bounty, incredibly
Lamar
strange
still not
situation.
here.
Yeah, brutal
It's been
stuff.
nearly 34 minutes of real time. He's been sitting out. Hopefully he comes back soon.
You really hate to see it as well because, like, obviously they've worked really hard to be here and
real time? Nothing? Okay.
Didn't hit me because I know that you don't know. I don't know them. I don't have the full library downloaded to my brain. You know
every Zac Efron movie ever made, apparently. And it's like, oh, I don't know anything about this.
I know the popular ones.
All right.
I've never heard that one before.
Real time is Bill Maher's show. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Pocket sixes for Bill, and he is back.
They are back. Oh, and wow, they've got 2 6s as well. Is this versus an under the gun raise? Thankfully, Bill Maher is here, and they're gonna jam. And Bell's, while it might sound ridiculous, could definitely consider calling 7-3 off.
I mean, a really bad beat for Bell is the fact that Bill Maher's been sitting out the whole tournament. He comes back the first time he attacks his big blind or whatever. So yeah. Also, Bill didn't think about laddering, whatever. It's like, no, I have 6s. I'm all in. Let's go.
Yeah, we're gonna make up for lost time. And they were fortunate enough to wake up with 2 6s and get straight in the mix. And now up to 17. I think people will be happy to see Bill Maher here because if it had gone on any longer, or even a significant. Wow, Bill Maher's all in.
Equalize, calling it off.
And Equalize definitely going to call. Bells lets it go. And potential here for Bill Maher, but is not realized as Equalize is going to knock them off here. And we're going to see a bounty open here. Take it away, Aaron.
Could be $10,000. Zeros. Only 2 of them.
Wow, $500 for Equalize there. And would have been excited to see the zeros. It's a huge amount of money. And don't forget, you're playing for first place afterwards as well. So it could be up to 20K, depending on how many bounties you've already got.
Yeah, Alex Mega Kill did already win a 3K bounty, as I mentioned. I believe of the other stacks, the biggest bounty, Bells has 3K. And so the 2 of them could win over 20K, right? You figure the 3K bounty, another 10K bounty, and first place for 8K. Could be near our record of biggest prize.
Yeah. And you can't help but wonder whether Bill Maher would have been better served doing whatever they were doing before they came to our feature show, because we've spoken a little bit about it already. And there's a chance that Bill Maher just didn't know because they've been a bit panicked because they weren't here. But you just don't have, I mean, 10s obviously are called regardless of the situation, but you don't have the fold equity that you're used to having in those situations. So stuff like 7-6 suited, while it's a great hand and maybe you get some folds versus like the ace 6 offsuits of the world in a regular game, those become snaps, and that's a big problem for you.
Yeah, it's like it just when you're talking about your reshoving range, when you're getting called more often, those like low suited connectors, even like a Jack 10, 10-9 suited, just don't do very well when you're getting called by King 5 suited and Ace 8, right? Usually those hands will fold to the shove, but in this format with the bounty left, obviously not. And now with another player eliminated, there's even greater chance that the next envelope opened is 10K.
Yeah, one of the 6 envelopes is worth 10,000. We've got a few people in the chat that have brought up the very real and honestly reasonably likely possibility that this match goes to heads up and this bounty has not yet been found, which means, guys, if you didn't know, whoever wins the tournament will claim that bounty and add it to the first prize, which I know is something Aaron's super fond of.
Well, just a casual, 12K heads up match.
Yeah. Do you think in that situation we may see some sort of deal more often than not?
I don't believe you can chop the bounties though.
You can't, but you can chop first prize, which is what I'm stipulating may happen.
I guess you can chop it. I don't think sometimes
Zac Efron going for the bluff.
And it's not going to work.
Wow,
great combo though, Zac Efron.
Yeah, I might have liked to see even a bigger sizing there from Zac Efron. Maybe really represent those flushes. Bell's calling a little bit quicker than I expected. I don't know if Jack 8 suited beats any of the value hands that Zach's saying that they have.
No, but he has 2 pair, and his opponent bet he's getting a decent price. He's like, meh, all right. I think that's enough at that point.
Yeah, Jack here. Bells will be absolutely praying for them to jam, but as we've already talked about, guys, 8 big blinds, you don't get a lot of fold equity 3-bet jamming anyway, but let me tell you, there is not a hand that Bells has in the world, including 7-2 off, that is not calling off a shove from Jack. So does that make it Queen 10 suited a more appealing shove?
Definitely, especially when you are the shorter stack. Even though there are ladders, when you're that short in Jack spot, you just want to gamble with what you think is the best hand, and just like, well, I'm going to get a double up or at least I'll be in a good position to double up very often. Alex and Zac Efron, even though they're deeper and also want a ladder, could play the same game. Like, well, I'm not going to make some tight ICM folds because I know I'm getting called super wide.
Wow. Zac Efron pairs the top card, and Quad Fisher with bottom 2 pair here. Zac Efron in big trouble with only 3x pot behind, and versus the incredibly aggressive, what they would assume, line from their opponent. What do? The only saving grace maybe potentially could be a heart on the turn, and the fact that Jack is there. That is a great card for Zac Efron, who will now potentially save their tournament life on that ace of spades.
Yeah, overcard of the king should slow him down or scare Zach a little bit. But he also knows Quad Fisher is still going to be really aggressive here versus a big blind defend. Yeah,
but now you'd have to imagine there's way better hands to hold on with here that you'd have much more equity with. You can't even be sure that a 7 would be good. Is going to call anyway. It's not a 7, it's a 9. Quad Fisher, do they go for the rest here? 2/3 pot back. They almost certainly do. Can imagine that Zach could have a lot of things like an ace high that turned a pair, maybe just a bear king, and it's going to go for the full value jam. And now Zac Efron, and the fact, by the way, Aaron, that if Zac Efron does call, that bounty is in play. Got to make it more tempting to jam and just hope you're ahead.
Yeah, 2 pair definitely good enough to jam for value here. Zach in a really tough spot with top pair out of a big blind defend. Second pair now after the ace turns.
And now Zach needs to fold this one to stay in this tournament. We know if they call this off, they're going to be out of there. And Zach does call, and understandably thought that Quad Fisher may be getting a little bit too aggressive in this dynamic. And there is no zeros here either. Zac Efron does not find the bounty, and he gets me no points despite all of the memes.
Yeah, just an unfortunate situation there, though. It's button versus big blind, and you have top pair versus bottom 2, which is hands that are very likely to collide.
Yeah, and Jack, now $1,975, which they'll be happy with, but there has to be some maybe inkling of regret in the fact that they didn't really so far get to play for this big bounty, which is still an enormous part of this FT.
Collide is another Zac Efron movie, by the way.
Is it? Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm just glad you're on board.
Well, it's over now. It's done.
Yeah.
Whew. But now 5 left. By the way, Jack did come in here as one of our shorter stacks, and because of this format, because the 10K in play, has been the beneficiary of several ladders. Now, he's not in a great spot to win the 10K bounty, but he has already gone from, I believe it's, let's see here, 750 up to 1975, or another $1,200 locked up, and more ladders potentially await.
Yeah, definitely a possibility, as Jack, while they know that they have made that 1975 and they'll be feeling pretty good about that, they're probably going to feel the shark circling very soon if they haven't done so already. Because, as Quad Fisher calls us of this river, everybody is thinking about a 1 in 5 chance of a $10,000 bounty. Quick maths, Aaron, that's $2,000 average bounty on every single one of these players. That is bigger than our ladders.
Yep.
There is a 10K out there. There is no other medium to low bounties. They're all minimum apart from this one 10,000 bounty. The blinds have gone up. Jack has 6.6 big blinds, and the entire game is going to be about Jack stack.
Yeah, and really, Alex is in a decent spot to ladder up, but very easily could find himself at risk too. Like, he picks up a premium hand. He thinks he might get a good double spot. He should go for it. We'll see how aggressive our chip leaders are versus each other. Bells ISOs the Jack 7, C-bets flop, and both players here with a straight draw.
Yeah, both players with a little something to hold on to here as the heart rolls off on the turn, equalized with the only heart in hand here. Our free roll, by the way, guys, did start 14 minutes ago. Get yourselves in. Remember that password is 888-MID-JUN. We will be doing the free roll flameouts later on in this stream. So don't go anywhere. Straight for bells, flush for equalize. But doing both of those hands a little bit too much credit because obviously both are not overwhelmed with joy. And equalize just going to take this down.
Yeah, and I wonder if a turnabout would have got it done for bells. You know, again, we've seen a lot of pre-flop aggression so far, not that much post from our chip leaders battling each other, just kind of waiting it out and trying to knock out a short stack. And I think that's reasonable. But if another stack is going to let you run them over, you should try to run them over.
Yeah, equalize here really wants to be involved in case Jack goes all in. Funny things can happen if bells was to like limp here and Jack jammed, then equalize might call and then bells would just get to do whatever they wanted, full stop. So it becomes super, super strange when Jack's stack is in the middle. It hasn't been that way yet, and they know that no matter what hand they have, they are going to get called by somebody. They will never get a walk, and they'll never get a fold.
No.
For the rest of this final table, whilst they are sub 10, maybe even sub 15, maybe even sub 20, because this now is becoming real possibility every single time. 20% chance of a $10,000 bounty. And here is 998. Alex with a 9 and Jack with an open and straight draw and 2 overcards. Can Alex extract the last 4.3 from Jack here? The bounty situation for Jack is pretty simple. They need chips. They're not involved in the bounty discussion right now.
Check King all the way back.
Of diamonds on the turn. No one feels a great obligation to be bluffing into this situation. Everyone wants to let Jack catch up, especially if you're Alex. Going to go for a bet of 3 big blinds. And I think on this king turn, on this paired board, Jack may well find a way to get away from this one.
Yeah, straight draw, a lot less attractive now on the turn compared to on the flop where you'd have 2 chances to hit it. And he does fold. And you wonder if Alex just stabs the flop there for 1 big blind. Jack at that point's like, I think you just got to put it in. But in his attempt to trap, which I think is reasonable, and that spot just ends up not working out for him. And man, you wonder now if Jack has that 10K bounty, will Alex kick himself later?
Oh, I hate thinking about stuff like that.
I think about Jack it all the time.
With 4 big blinds is really the star of this show. Now, we know the short stacks, generally speaking, do dictate a lot of the action, how tight middle stacks have to be, etc. But this 4 big blinds is an elephant in the room. It stands out like a sore thumb. Everybody wants to wait to see what... And the shorter that Jack gets before they put the money in, by the way, the more ridiculous this could end up being, this all in, because everyone's going to want to play for this.
Yeah. And the thing is, though, is if I'm one of the bigger stacks here, I could still play a lot of pots. It's really hard for me to dust off 60 big blinds before he loses 4. I mean, it's possible. I've done it. But you can still defend. You can still 3-bet. You can still see flops. You know, like I wouldn't be playing this really tight style because normally you're playing tighter to get the ladder. When there's a big bounty still in play, you know, the ladder is less of the total equity involved in the tournament. And here goes Jack.
Jack all in with ace-8. How many calls will they get? And what shape will this all-in pre-flop take? Because we know everyone wants a piece of this. Nobody's going to want to fold. Alex here could potentially jam. And I think that would be enough to fold out, equalize, and maybe even bells. But then Quad Fisher would have an opportunity and in pretty good standing to knock off. Oh, bells is going to call as well. Quad Fisher now. 13 more big blinds to call with the Queen 3 of hearts. 6-4 of hearts in absolutely abysmal shape here, by the way. Looking for a straight pretty much, or a billion 4s. Quad Fisher calls. The flop is ace-4 Jack. Still Jack now in the lead. Nobody is currently winning this, but crucially as well, Aaron, Alex is ahead of bells and Quad Fisher.
Alex
which
can't
is
imagine
huge.
he's ahead right now. He's just got to be like, I need a 6. I need a 6. And he just needs to hold.
Just needs to fade a 4 or a queen. He can't possibly think that this is the best hand, but it is the best hand. And Jack is going to quadruple up, and Alex going to get a pretty meaty side pot.
That's the
40
biggest
bigs.
side pot I've ever seen. Won by 4th pair.
Incredible. But that, didn't I say? I mean, it wasn't exactly the most ridiculous prediction in the world, but this was going to get silly. The shorter that Jack got, this was going to get silly.
Yeah, and now Jack with a much more reasonable chip stack here, and Alex all the way up to 40 big blinds.
40 bigs for Alex just goes to show just how lucky Ambroni really is.
I did dodge all those, cards that I dominated, like the 6 and the 4.
Yeah. Full way all in the pocket sixes. Yeah, pretty reasonable.
He didn't get the whole pot now.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, man. That's
very unlucky.
Jack's still in the mix. Jack is still in there, and now up 15 big blinds, becomes a lot less clear how you want to approach getting Jack stack in the middle, because Quad Fisher doubles Jack up, by the way, and Jack is all of a sudden ahead of them.
Yeah, and here now, 8 high good. Both players with a hand they think has to be the worst hand. I wonder what's going to happen here. Will Bells bluff it? He does.
Yeah, Bell's going to bluff. Just 8 high here for Alex. No good. And I'm considering a pre-break tickets giveaway. What do you think?
Do you think the chat deserves it?
It's tough to say.
All right, let's do it anyway.
Okay, let's do it anyway. Would
like
you like to
Christmas,
play?
right? Where you get your, they get it anyway. Oh, if you've been good this year, they always get something.
Yeah, they always get something. The stack of coal is just a myth.
Yeah.
Would you like to ask the question or be asked the question?
I would like to ask you the question.
Okay.
Now,
right, guys. I'll explain the rules. Guys, we're going to play Nick Thinks. Aaron's going to ask me a question. I am going to try and guess what the answer to that question is. You are looking to guess what you think I think the answer is, and the closest to my guess will win a $109 ticket. Just one winner. And we will be going ahead and kicking off this giveaway as soon as Aaron asks me his question. Go.
Okay. So Nick and I are both going to the World Series of Poker very soon.
Yes.
And I believe you'll be there for about a week. Longer if you win the main event, of course.
Yes.
So my question for you is, Nick has a restaurant of choice, a favorite place he likes to go. It is Dave's Hot Chicken for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
And my question to you is, over the course of your time in Las Vegas playing the World Series of Poker, how many calories of Dave's Hot Chicken will you eat?
That includes everything that I consume from there, not just the chicken, right?
Everything.
Yeah. Okay.
Dave's Hot Chicken refers to the restaurant name, not the actual item. Yes. Great question.
Okay.
We wonder how high Nick can count. This is the real question.
Gonna be. Depends how far I go in the main, really.
Exactly.
I could be having shares in that place if I go well in the main.
You will own that actually the whole restaurant.
Yeah.
Does 1% of a swap apply if you end up buying Dave's Hot Chicken? Like the entire restaurant? Like, do I get 1% of Dave's Hot Chicken?
No, you get 2.5% because that's our swap, bro.
Oh, it's 2.5. All right.
Yeah, do you not remember?
Cha-ching. Look at me.
I'm going to go with this because it's just the number that came to my head. So let's go with that. That's my answer locked in.
Not playable hands or so while you've been thinking about
it. That's good.
People have still played. Timed. Yeah. And you see a lot more limping in these mystery bounty formats when someone's shorter because you want to play a pot with a person you have covered, and maybe you get a big hand and they have a slightly worse hand. So that's why you see that here from Alex, where normally you wouldn't see much pre-flop limping at a final table. But again, it's another indicator of the 10K bounty, doing some heavy lifting on changing the strategy.
Yeah, heavy lifting. You can say that again, because I don't think there's many decisions that would have been the same at all if we had that big bounty not in play. It completely has changed the entire complexion of the FT. I think every single decision, potentially you could argue, has been different or at least loaded. Even if they make the same decision, it is at least guided by this bounty.
As it should be. And sometimes, players aren't aware of that sort of thing. So I can't say for certain that every player is aware that there's a 10K left. But it's, another reason why it's important to pay attention to the table. In this case, you can just click the mystery bounty logo on the left and it'll pop up all the bounties that are remaining. And you can see if there's a 10K left or a 3K, a 1K, etc.
Yeah. And Bell's hit. With the opportunity to be aggressive, does not take it. And now to pair on the river for Quad Fisher.
Sorry, 130,000 calories.
I actually don't know how calorific it is. I just assume because it's America, it probably isn't the healthiest.
Well, no, but I mean, it's hard finding healthy options and then reasonably priced options and then convenient options are all different things. But putting them as one thing in the Venn diagram is very hard. Having
played the main a few times now, gonna get a call here from Jack. Yeah, having played the main a few times, I think that the main thing is find somewhere first and foremost that you can eat in time and be back comfortably without having to rush. Number one. Going to get an all in here from Jack. There certainly won't be any callers. Number two, something that's not going to upset your tummy later on in the evening.
Very important.
And that's how we landed on Dave's, because Dave's is just outside. It's quick. You can choose a no spice option, and it's very beige. There's very little that can, toy with you, shall I say. It's
much more of a Dave's mild chicken when we order it.
It's not hot at all.
Which is by design.
Yes.
You don't want to, you can if you need to use the bathroom, but you really don't want to be spending your time in the bathroom on level 4, 5, 6 of the main.
No. You don't even want to be thinking about needing the bathroom.
No.
You just want a pure and clean mind to make the best decisions you can. We got a raid from Josh Manly Poker. Josh, how are you doing, my friend? Hope you had a great stream. We are here watching the final 5 of this Rakeless main event, and there is still... If you guys didn't know, if we didn't mention it enough, there is still a $10,000 bounty available on this final table for one of these 5 players will win that bounty. And one of them, might not be the same person, will win this tournament for $8,140.
And right here, every one of the little piece draws for bells and equalize the best hand actually for Quad Fisher, which is crazy.
What disappointing river. Still the best hand.
Uh-huh.
Will anyone find a way to win this one? Or will Quad Fisher be able to tap the tail behind here and take down the 14 big blinds? They probably won't be able to believe their luck if that does transpire.
They might turn their hand into a bluff too.
They could do.
Everybody could reasonably think their hand is not the best and decide to bluff with it.
It's just one of those boards, though, when you're thinking about bluffing, is that there are 2 players. It's hard to imagine that no one has anything that can call on this board. And it's very easy to imagine that someone could just have an ace that they don't want to bet with themselves, but would definitely call if someone decided to bet and try and take it away. Quad Fisher, though, like we said, going to check and take down this reasonably sized pot. And we're getting a little bit congested at the top of the pile here.
We are. And, Alex still with, within shouting distance of those chip leaders. And Jack is not as short as he once was. They were trying to outlast him before, and now it's kind of, a spot where you really have to play your hands. You don't really want to sit there and fold. Mm-hmm. Again, a lot of pre-flop aggression, not so much post.
Yeah.
But now a Jack with a real hand.
Yeah, Jack with a great hand here, and Bells could very well stick Jack in here with the King 5, knowing... Obviously, we're going to get a limp here from Alex, which is going to change things. Oh. Knowing that, wow, Jack going to just check behind here and being incredibly passive with a wide variety of their hands in this situation. 9's there, such a great spot because you're probably getting called as well and going to be in great shape more often than not.
I think with small to medium pairs, a lot of players have this idea that they don't want to be flipping, and so they think it's too gambly. But when you have... 9s aren't really that small, number one. But when you have some fold equity or you're up against really wide ranges, you know, and you shove the nines, you get called by a jack 7 or a 10-4 suited or an ace 3. That's a fantastic spot. But jack finds a way to win the pot anyway. Probably actually wins the same amount he would have won regardless, so it works out perfectly.
Very quickly before we go on the break, Aaron, you asked me what?
I asked you how many calories of Dave's hot chicken you will ingest during the WSOP while you're there in Las Vegas.
Well, I decided, well, equalized flops are set that will amount to nothing. I decided I'm probably going to eat there quite a lot. I'm just planning on going quite deep. And there's a lot of bread. There's a lot of chicken. And I'm not shy with either of those things. And you need sustenance. So I figure I'd probably go, I don't know, 6 times, maybe 7 if I do well. Maybe I'll have a sugary beverage at one point. I decided to go high, just below the 5-figure mark at 9,800 calories, which is a lot of damn chicken and bread. And the winner, therefore, is Hermes at 9,750. Honorable mention there to Play Aquila on 9,600, but that is not quite good enough. Hermes is going to take down the $109 ticket, and I will let you know how much chicken I do truly eat upon my return.
Oh, right here we have a pot brewing. 3-bet pot, top pair, top caker against overcards and a flush draw.
Yeah, and Equalize will be happy with their hand, but not necessarily thrilled to get into that amount of big blinds. Obviously, we're going to be seeing a turn here, but it's not a comfortable one being out. Wow. A jam from Equalize, who just does not want to mess around with having to play this turn out of position. Bells is going to call it off, and what a huge moment this could be as it bricks entirely. And Bells, from chip leader for the majority of this final table, is now out after an incredible move from Equalize, who is now looking for that big bounty. Is it there? 0, but a 4 straight after it, and now a 25% chance of this next bounty being the big one, and Bells out of there from a huge position of strength. Jack ladders again up to 29.75, and that takes us wildly into our break. The 10K bounty is still out there. There's still $8,140 to play for, and we'll be back in 4 minutes and 40 seconds.
Here comes 700,000 from Murciano. From what we know of Falcon, he's going to jam. Murciano absolutely snaps it off. And there is 8.9 million chips in this pot. Now ace-10 suited, facing the open of Dancy, who will not fancy playing a significant pot with Murciano. Just going to call. But in great shape, pipping the ace-8 suited of Dancy. So we take a flop, and it does have an ace, but it also has an 8. 2 pair for Dancy, and Murciano pairs his ace, and will believe there's a good chance it's ahead. Not always. Doesn't have to be a total disaster for Murciano, this one.
No, but definitely has one of the stronger hands in his range here. And versus small bet, we've seen him be aggressive before. This time decides just to call.
Three of clubs on the turn. Murciano picks up a flush draw and checks. Dancy will almost certainly bet the turn, and will need to fade a club to avoid disaster.
Yeah, definitely want to be value betting your 2 pair here. And Murciano doesn't really mind if his opponent bets. Yes, he could be behind, but he has so much equity and a very strong bluff catcher. You almost hope your opponent bets, and he gets what he might want.
550k from Dancy is big. A large bet.
He bet 1 big blind on the flop, and now pot on the turn. He'll have about 1 million behind if called into a pot of 1.6, setting up a potential river jam. And there are a lot of rivers that Murciano wants him to jam on.
announcer's call. And this is a monumental river for these players, as it's hard to imagine Dancy would be dissuaded by a club from value betting the river, depending on its nature. Murciano looking to find the backdoor nut flush to put Dancy in serious trouble. The river's the king of clubs. Murciano takes the lead with the nuts and has not checked yet.
He hasn't checked yet. Opponent does have a little over half pot behind, maybe 1.1 and a 1.7. Typically you will check here when you have the ace of clubs because you block top pair hands as well. So you want to give your opponent a chance to bluff, but he is leading at it.
He's going to lead small. Really, really small. Designed to look like a stunting bet, to encourage Dancy to believe that his hand may be best. And Dancy, faced with the opportunity to reopen the action and go for more value with his two pair. How often does he believe that Murciano leads this small with a hand this good?
You don't see it that often. You do want to have it in part of the range. Use the time bank there. Now we are at a final table, so winning the max amount of chips is not the most important thing. You do want to ladder. You do want to make more money. And so, because of the situation, you might be more inclined to call. But it is a very small
He's all
bet.
in. Murciano is going to double check the nuts and snap it off, and Dancy runs into the trap.
Welcome back to a very exciting main event. We just saw a monster pot that equalized, did win up to 95 big blinds, and we didn't really get to break it down, not in the way that you guys would like. You heard from me a little bit, and I did a little bit of shouting, and then we had to go straight to break. Aaron Baroni, what a crazy hand. How much of that was standard? How much of that was driven by pure bounty adrenaline?
I think you could actually close your eyes and imagine that hand sort of happening at a regular final table without the bounty in play. But, you know, perhaps in that situation, equalize is a little bit less likely to want to get in top pair, top kicker. But there, you know, he thought he could have the best hand, but then there's a value of, well, if I get called and I'm ahead and I hold, I could win 10K. If I'm behind, I get there, I could also win 10K. And so it makes a lot of sense from his perspective. And then his opponent has 2 overcards and a second nut flush draw and could become chip leaders. So again, I think it's very reasonable for both to want to get the money in. Perhaps they're more willing to forego the chance of laddering and play aggressively at the chance of winning that big bounty. And that would make sense because there's a 10K bounty still left. Now 4 players left, each one with a 25% chance when they knock somebody out to win that 10K. And I don't expect the action to slow down. Jack, by the way, doing an impressive job laddering. Went from 8 of 9 to 4th.
Jack just doing Jack things. I mean, there has to be something to be said for the fact that obviously Jack, the proof's in the pudding, right? Jack is here and still here and laddering aggressively on this final table. But is there anything to be said, Aaron, from a strategic point of view, for just letting things happen because everyone's chasing bounties and just quietly making a little bit of money on the side?
Especially as a short stack, you don't have anybody covered, so you actually don't have the opportunity each hand to win that bounty. So if you pick up a great hand and you want to get, you know, double up, great, go for it. But just allowing other players to clash as you move up the money ladder is a classic way to make more equity and money at a final table. And we're just seeing that on display here even more so because the 10K bounty is driving the action. So for sure, there's an argument to just kind of sit back with a shorter stack and let the other players knock each other out. And so far, that's worked very well for Jack.
Yeah, Jack.
It'll be harder though as we get, you know, short-handed, because there aren't, you know, there won't be as much of confrontation. But we'll see if Quadfisher and Alex really want to go for it.
Couple of minutes left, by the way, on our free roll today. If you do want to play the free roll, you want to go into the 8 Poker TV client, 8 Poker client, not the 8 Poker TV client, and you want to go to 8 Poker TV special free roll. There, you can enter for the next 1 minute, and then not long after registration has closed, we will be doing today's free roll flame out. We'll be asking you how you busted, who, what, when, why, and how you feel about it. And that will be coming along very shortly. I will put the submissions through to Amberoni. Amberoni will choose this week's free roll out. The current champion is, I believe, Sleepy. Is it Sleepy? It is Sleepy the Old. Happy I am. Delta pair of 8s. What can go wrong? Third 8 on a rainbow flop. Nothing can now go wrong. All in is the only way to go. Then I realized my 8-8 is an 8-6. Should have worn my glasses. That's the kind of anecdote we're looking for, guys. That's the standard.
See, I picked that one because personally, I had a situation where I had called an all-in of another player with pocket 7s, and I lost to their pocket 8s, and I went, oh, that's unfortunate. And 5 minutes later, the chat said, bro, you had Jack 7. And I said, wait, what?
They're kind of both hooky, aren't they?
Yeah, right? And I had to look back and I saw it, and I was like, oh, wow. I would have lost anyway, but this is much more embarrassing. So Sleepy, I don't know if you realized that and then kind of parroted my own stuff, but that's a great way to impress me and win this competition, is just do the things that I would do.
I have to say, I've never done that. Like, sometimes I'll see a hand on another table because I play like 4 fast tables at once, and I'll think that I've flopped a set because I've got that hand on the other table, but then I won't actually act on it. I'll just realize quite quickly. The worst thing I've ever done is value bet the river, quote unquote, with a straight. You know, when you look at a board, like you just look like you should have a straight, but you actually don't. Yeah, I had one of those. Like, I had like 9 high, and I value bet, and they called. I was like, oh yes, get stuffed, man. And they just had like 4th pair, and the money just started going over to them. I was like, oh, this is terrible.
Well, I mean, the thing is that I would have said to you before the other day that I've never had that happen to me either, where I had the Jack 7 and thought it was 7s. But apparently it could have happened many times now.
Yeah, easily could have done. Yeah. And you play a lot off stream as well, man. You know, who knows how many times you got in with Jack 7 off stream.
Might explain this never banking thing.
Yeah. Might explain why you lose 4 bags every Sunday.
I mean, that was a winning Sunday to lose only 4. Oh my God. I was hyped. It's not going to be my worst Sunday ever. This is great.
Yeah, that was not long ago, was it? Your worst Sunday? We had to talk about that, and you were obviously naturally given Ambassador of the Week as a result.
I think whenever you have your worst losing day ever and you come back to work the next day, that just shows a bunch of, ingenuity and spunk and drive that just deserves Ambassador of the Week.
It certainly does. 100 big blinds here, by the way, for equalizer. It's not very equal out here. Quad Fisher with 40, Alex with about the same, Jack still hovering around that 10 big blind mark, and it's getting less and less likely that we're going to see big confrontations. But I have to say, in Jack's defense, this bounty being in play does at least give them a chance for something to happen, even whilst they only have 9 big blinds.
Yeah, normally here you would say, okay, I'm the shortest stack, status quo, I'd go out next, I should look to be aggressive. And you could still argue that here, but these 38 big blind stacks might decide, all right, I'm going to go after my neighbor here with 37 bigs, or I'm going to take a spot and try to double up for the chip lead.
Yeah. They definitely could.
Again, the ladders are now more than they were before, right? 3K basically guaranteed, 29.75. Next ladder is 1,400 up to 43.75. And that's not 10K. But if you think about it, like the equity of that 10K bounty on one player, it's 25%, right? Is the chance of hitting it. So the equity of that's 2,500. The ladder's 1,400. It's getting closer than it was before.
Yeah. Soon it is going to outweigh massively. But you can imagine, if you are Jack, you can imagine a situation, like you said, where Quad Fisher gets involved with the equalize. Maybe not in this situation. Looks pretty unlikely here, although they may pay off this river bet. You can imagine a situation where Quad Fisher could be like, I don't really want to get this in because Jack's out there, but it seems like a really good spot. There's a very, very good chance that one of those situations could come up. And Quad Fisher's decision is made just a little bit easier on the aggressive side by the fact that 10K is out there. It kind of softens the blow of that 9 big blind stack being out there, because you do have that 10K to fall back on potentially.
And here's the spot where Jack might just put it in. Oh, he just calls again. All right. He's been really passive here, just trying to wait till he sees 3 to put the money in, knowing he has no fold equity.
Yeah. Quad Fisher here would love to be involved with Jack, but knows that it's going to be very, very difficult to be on their own with Jack because Equalize has a lot of room here. That's what really chips afford you in this situation. It is a lot of room to go for the bounty. It's not just necessarily winning the bounty. It's about being able to go for it and take a hit without it changing really the dynamics of your tournament that much.
And Quad Fisher now going to bluff the King 5, straight draw. Same straight draw for Equalize, though.
Wow, and Equalize is going to call. And there is a brick on the river. So who wants this pot more? Quad Fisher does actually have the best hand. We know that they probably win this pot with a bet, but with a check, that opens the door for Equalize to take this one away.
He should be betting here. Ace hits his range a lot better than hits Big Blind's range. Queen high, hard to have worse in this spot. Block 5-6, block 5-3. He just rips it.
Yeah, you're going to absolutely jam this one in. And Quad Fisher doesn't take too long to get out of the way there. I wondered whether they might think about it for a moment, but when you lose to bluffs, kind of is a little bit tough to be calling off.
Yeah, you wonder what he does there when he rivers top pair type hands, right? I think 2 pair sad calls, but even 1 pair, every 1 pair is just might be folding.
Yeah, and if you're just joining us, guys, and you're wondering why 8-3 offsuit is being opened by the big stack, Aaron, why is 8-3 offsuit being opened, and why is that good?
Well, I mean, the best reason is if your opponents are going to fold. The second best reason is if there's a $10,000 bounty still in play, and there is. One of these envelopes remaining will have 10K in it, so our chip leader is going to be even more aggressive as Jack wants the ladder, and so do the other 2 players, but the chip leader, if he does get involved in all-in confrontation, will have a chance to win $10,000. So 8-3 off, sure, why not?
And just the fact that, you know, if Jack is involved, then Equalize wants to be a part of that, you know? Yeah. And the very fact that you open 8-3 off and then Jack goes for the jam, it's really difficult for anyone behind to actually do anything about that, knowing that you're lurking with an uncapped range behind.
Yeah. Now, other players might still go after it with really good hands, but, you know, when they have a bunch of
flopping a straight.
Nothing. Yeah, a straight's pretty good.
Yeah. Straight is very good. Alex here with the underpair to the board, not exactly what they were hoping for. Equalize. Think no matter what they do, this will be probably the end of this one. Hard to see much playability for even the 5 of clubs. A little bit of reverse implied odds when you hit your set. There are some situations where you are dead, and this isn't exactly one of them because you do need a little bit of backdoor help, but it's pretty thin. Just going to let this one go. Quad Fisher, ace, queen.
We've seen a little more raising from the short middle stacks and just limping. Quad Fisher could do either right here. Does decide to go for a raise.
Yeah, it's going to be a raise, and I think even with Jack behind, Equalize just doesn't let it go. And Equalize will know that Jack hasn't exactly been forthcoming with their stack, so I won't be overly concerned they're going to miss out on any bounty shenanigans.
Yeah, and just goes right back to raising the next pot. I think that's going to be the recipe here for Equalize. Just like raise every button, raise every cutoff until Jack is eliminated. Even 3 deuce, I think, you know, suited for sure. I think we're still raising it.
8-3 off was in there, so I can't see any reason to eliminate 3 deuce suited.
So sometimes when I'm going to be playing any 2 cards as a raise and I do it repeatedly, I don't want to do it instantly. Like I don't want to hit the raise button immediately. I want to take a little bit of time. Like, oh, I guess this is part of the any 2. I guess I will raise it, rather than people picking up on the fact that I'm just mashing that raise button.
Well, this is the thing about Equalizer's situation, right? Is that they get to open anything, and they kind of. It's not just that they're the chip leader. It's that the dynamic of the table just allows them to do whatever they want. Even if Alex Megakill decided they wanted to 3-bet bluff out the big blind, right? Equalize can shove so very easily in their situation, so wide, and it'd be absolutely fine. Even Alex's stack doesn't exactly threaten their chip lead. I mean, obviously, it would be a lot closer. They still have the chip lead, even losing it all into Alex. So, and even if Alex wanted to play for all the chips, not only does Alex cost themselves the chance to play for bounties against other players, but also Equalize, you know, just gets to win a bounty sometimes. Some of the time, obviously, it's not, you know, 3 deuce probably wouldn't go in, but there are a lot of hands that Equalize could happily go with and just be able to fall back on the equity of that bounty.
Yeah, they'd have the. I mean, if you get 3-bet by another opponent and you can 4-bet shove, sometimes they fold, sometimes they call, sometimes you win the bounty. So, and right now, as you said, Equalize can afford, doesn't want to, of course, but he could afford to double up any of his opponents and still be the chip leader.
Yeah. And while we get further into the doldrums of this very interesting FT, we want to know what happened in your guys' free roll. We're opening the submissions for this week's free roll flameout. Guys, did you play the free roll? Did you lose in the free roll? Are you sad about it? Well, we want to know why, who, what, if, and how you feel about busting the free roll. We want to hear your flameouts. Give us a short anecdote about what happened to you. Give us your bad beat stories. People tell you don't want to hear bad beat stories. Well, we want to hear them. Some of you use this opportunity to go and get some coffee, and that's absolutely fine. But if you guys want to play this week's flameout, we are opening submissions in the chat, and we would love to hear what happened to you and how you feel, because it makes us feel happy. Your sadness can be converted into happiness.
I would have said your participation, but that's fine.
Yeah. Well, I actually, do thrive off of the sadness of others, as you're aware. Gonna get a jam here from Equalize.
It is your superpower.
Yeah. Jack down to 3 bigs, by the way, and we're going to creep up again. Well, we've already crept all the way up to it, to a very, very, very strange situation. And the power of the big stack is going to be extremely, extremely strong here as Equalize continues to open whatever they like. And no one can really do much about it with Jack on 3 bigs.
Yeah, and, it's a spot where normally you are going to be pretty tight versus chip leader. Here, do you want to be even tighter? Because if you bust now, you don't get the chance to go after Jack's 3 big blinds, right? And so that might be part of the rationale for being tighter in the spot. But Alex flops 2 pair.
Alex does flop 2 pair. A bit of a whiff here for Equalize, who isn't used to any resistance.
Well, that's an action card.
Yeah, turns a queen and is still in last place here. Alex ahead with 2 pair. Quad Fisher with top pair, reasonable kicker. And yet we may go to the river with no more money put into this pot. Equalize makes me a liar. 3.6 big blinds here. And I don't think they're going to lose either of these players on this turn.
No, probably just going to definitely a call from Quad Fisher. Alex might decide to do something else, but I think there are arguments for raise and for call. He just decides to call. And now guess what? Alex is counterfeit on the end.
Yeah, the best hand now for Quad Fisher. Yeah. Already seeing some enjoyable submissions for this week's Flameout. Thank you, guys. We really appreciate you playing our silly games with us. It makes us very happy. Happier than you could possibly know. Or expect, even. As we check all the way down here in Quad Fisher, while they may have hoped to get a little bit more out of this one, I think, given how uncomfortable they probably were on the turn, this is a good result.
And Jack showed a queen, meaning that was the last queen in the deck. It's a pretty rough run out for Alex. Very unlucky.
Jack about to be in the big blind as well, by the way.
So if Jack gets forced all in, you wonder how wide the other 2 mid stacks want to go after it with a 10k bounty in play.
Yeah, I mean, this is super, super interesting. Quad Fisher would have been hoping for anything to get their teeth into here. They got 10-3 off, which was not what they're looking for. But as you can see, the very fact that Jack is here with 1.7 big blinds is going to force some rather ridiculous shenanigans, even from the likes of 10-3 off and 5 deuce off, as we check our way to a flop. And I don't believe the bounty is going to be at risk here. Quad Fisher is going, it just gets their leg muscles out all the time. Quad Fisher is going to pair the best hand here and pretty much be a lock for this pot. May even just throw out 2 big blinds and hope that Jack comes along. Doesn't do that. And now a 6 on the turn.
Could that be enough?
Jack. It is not the best hand, but Jack with only about a 3rd pot left could convince themselves that it is. And Quad Fisher with a 10. With an unbelievable chance here to go for the bounty because Alex blocks Jack's outs as well. There's only 1 6 left in the deck, and that is the only card that would help Jack because a 3 is no good. And they're going to raise, and Alex would have been hoping to see this river. They're not going to. There is no hope for Jack, who ends up with 6 high. And all there is left to do is open this bounty for Quad Fisher, looking for zeros. Can he find them? There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4. And that is a $10,000 bounty goes over to the 10-3 offsuit of Quad Fisher, who knocks out Jack after a huge delay on Jack. Been here for so long, riding out the pay ladders, but it was one step too far on the ladder. And Quad Fisher is going to pick up a $10,000 bounty with 10-3 offsuit. Aaron limped it under the gun. We wondered whether it was strong enough. They were hoping for anything they could get their teeth into. As I said, 10-3 off. They went with it anyway. They manufactured a situation for themselves by not betting the flop. Jack hits the pair on the turn, and Quad Fisher 10 grand richer.
Yeah, 10K from 10-3 offsuit, like classic mystery bounty stuff. And it just does show you these games are very different, especially when that big bounty is present at the final table. And now we can go back to playing a more normal-ish final table with that 10K out of the way. But that was a really, really fun thing to watch and sweat and see how the strategy changed.
It was absolutely... you could imagine that Quad Fisher was looking at that hand thinking, oh, I kind of have to be in here, but how do I do it? Because Equalize a lot of the time isn't going to let me do this. You know, Equalize isn't going to let me play the game. They're going to know I've got a really weak range. But it just so happened that Equalize had 5 deuce off. It just so happened that a 6 came on the turn and gave Jack the encouragement to go all in. You know, if someone asked, how do you make 10K, Quad Fisher? Well, I limped 10-3 offsuit under the gun. Someone's going to say, excuse me, you did what? But that's just the nature of mystery bounties. Anyway, with that massive moment out of the way, Aaron, it's time for you to do some play-by-play, and it's time for me to fish through this week's free roll flameouts.
All right, you take a look there. We'll have a shove with the 4s, and now with that 10K bounty gone, there's going to be a lot less of the loose all-in calls. There are still some bounties left. However, they're all more of the minimum variety. Quad Fisher here with Jacks, Equalize with Queen 7. Equalize still our chip leader.
Sorry, Aaron. Apologies, bro. Sorry.
You like that one, I can tell.
I've never heard that before.
A lot of great submissions this week. Quad Fisher deciding how much to 3-bet to. Does make it 9.6. And Equalize folds.
Oh, man.
So now with that 10K bounty out of the way, not only is the strategy changing for Equalize because he, doesn't want to be opening everything and going after the bounty since there is none, but Quad Fisher now has won the biggest bounty. You wonder how that makes them adjust. Do they feel like, well, I've already kind of won the tournament here, right? Like I came in this tournament trying to win 8K for first. I've already won 10K. Like, do they play more of a loose style that you can't push them around? Some players will change their strategy at that point because they just feel good. And why shouldn't Quad Fisher feel good? Alex making 2-pair on the turn and puts out a huge bet over 2x pot. And Quad Fisher's going to be wondering, like, wait, did you just improve on that card? I improved on that card. He does get out of the way. I would have been a little more curious and probably paid the 5 big blinds, but I do like calling down. And now Quad Fisher opening up the 9s. Great spot here against 9-8. And that is an action flop. 9s for Quad Fisher, straight draw for Equalize.
All right. We got just gonna.
Do you narrow it down to your final 14?
We got 5 entries this week. We got 5 entries. I was on the fence about a couple. I really wanted to include them, but I need to take this seriously. My job is is to narrow it down for you, and I haven't been doing a good enough at one of that. So 5 entries I think is fair, reasonable. Include some people, I want people to feel seen, to feel heard, but also it doesn't get too ridiculous in terms of like you remembering what I've even said for the first entry.
We do have a check raise of the 9-8 and a call by Quadfisher. Top card pairs. Equalize, though, might decide to keep the aggression on with the straight draw.
Yeah, they have been aggressive, generally speaking, but we haven't seen them in a regular situation yet.
Correct. And Quadfisher did improve on this turn. He now beats hands like 7-6, right? The problem for him might be that the draws his opponent's going to have, he wants him to have a 9. He has 2 of them. But he's going to stick around for one more street. And now with a pot-sized bet left, what does Equalize want to do with 9 high?
Well, checking, definitely reasonable with 9 high, but you can't win when you check, and Quadfish are going to very happily tap the table. Equalize didn't think they could represent an ace very well, having bet the flop and turn, and you could understand that. But maybe being at the bottom of their range could have been more important to them, and they may well have been thinking that a 9 and an 8 blocks a significant amount of the hands they would want Quadfisher to fold with, and that's why they gave up.
Yeah, I think giving up, you don't want to bluff all of your brick draws all the time, right? So giving up makes sense. I would say on that spot, when the hearts break out, I convinced myself, well, they could have hearts. They could have a heart flush draw. They're going to fold that.
Yeah, well, with a fairly safe-looking situation, I am going to delve into this week's free roll flame out. Are you ready,
Right.
Amber?
I'm ready.
Right, up first. GTO Wizard told me I wasn't ready to play a free roll.
Okay.
Flamed out. Can't really remember what happened. Thinking about flaming hot chicken.
All right. Topical.
You do like topical.
I do like that.
For the first time in 2 years, I had a street flash.
Okay.
Next up. Just flamed out with J10 versus 9-8. Awful run out made me sad. So sad. Now I had to retype this out because flame out wasn't even open yet, making it doubly worse. Why does it always feel like it's always me? Oh yeah, because it is.
Did they write J10 as the letter J and the number 10, or did they write it as words?
J and the number 10.
Okay, thank you.
Not JT. And last, but by no means least, JJ all in versus AK. AK in the bush.
Oh, we have our winner. I don't know what that phrase means exactly, but somehow it's perfect. So yes.
All right, this week's winner is Cody Agger. Cody Agger, congratulations, you're this week's free roll flame out champion with JJ all in versus AK. AK in the bush. Congratulations, Cody Agger. I kind of knew that you were going to win when the moment I read it, but we do have to do the formalities.
By the way, Quadfisher is in the chat. Says hello.
Oh, Quad Flasher. How are we doing, Quad Flasher?
Yeah, Nick gave you the nickname of Quad Flasher.
Yeah, accidentally.
So if you have any strong leg muscles, it would be a great time to lean into it.
Yeah, Quad Flasher, massive. I mean, obviously this isn't over yet, but massive congratulations on your 10K bounty. We're looking forward to seeing if you can take the whole thing down. Max late reg. They say it's plus EV, Aaron.
Team Max late regged it?
Yep.
First bullet?
It doesn't skip leg day either. Quad Flasher. Who knew?
Quad Flasher. I think that's gotta be. That's if you make a new nickname, it's got to be that.
It has to be Quad Flasher. just pulls up the shorts a little bit, shows them off. Yeah.
But yeah, I think you said like to that, hey, good luck, hope you win it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
If I've been in this sort of spot before where you win a big bounty and the first place prize is still really important. You're playing for it, but it just feels like you've already won.
Yeah, it does.
Like it's almost like when you do a chop, but you still play for a little bit up top and you're like, dude, I've already won. So sometimes for players, it's hard to get back into the game and focus, but Quad Flasher.
Yeah, it doesn't care.
Here.
Gonna bluff the river. Yeah, going to bluff the river, equalize, try to value bet their pair here on the river, and Quad Flasher going for the bluff, trying to fold out exactly this type of hand, but going to get called by equalize, who manages to figure this one out. A great call, everyone playing extremely well. Now that bounty's gone. And I do wonder, like, everything you just said there is obviously very, very true. You feel like you've already won. I think there might even be a little bit more. I know it's 10K and 10K is 10K, but is there not just a little bit more, like, the way that it was won? The way that we got away with the 10-3 offsuit limp, the way that we checked the flop and it just perfectly fell our way. Like, it almost feels like, I'm not saying you didn't deserve it, but like, it's almost like a situation that you're very rarely that's going to very rarely go well. And the fact that we played the hand and it did has got to feel so good.
It feels like when you find money in a coat pocket. You're like, oh,
10K.
I just have a little 10 grand in here. I didn't know about that. That's really how, because it's not, again, not that they didn't deserve it or earn it. You earn it in different ways.
Sure.
But like, if it was ace king versus tens, if it was kings versus jacks, some classic situation, then sure, you're used to that. But you're right. Having the 10-3 off as a limp, when you retell the story, Quad Fisher to people, just be like, yeah, this guy was really short and I gambled and I had the best hand and I won.
Yeah.
Just skip the whole 10-3 off limp entirely.
I think I feel like personally that Quad Flasher will be the kind of person that definitely includes every single detail of the 10-3 offsuit, because that's just like a beautiful way to do it. And but in a way as well, like, it is. We was just going to see if Quad Flasher does decide to go with this one. Alex jams the king jack offsuit, looking to get folds from exactly this type of hand, by the way. Hands that are just ever so slightly better than yours. And we do get that one through. But yeah, we joke about it, but not everyone's going to find that limp there. We mentioned at the start, like, it's not clear what we're supposed to do. It's very unsolved. We're not sure what's supposed to happen, but generally speaking, fortune favors the brave, and 10-3 offsuit is nothing if not brave.
Yeah, and in a mystery bounty, you can't knock them out if you're not, in the hand pre, right? You have to just VPIP, play a lot more hands. And 10-3 off ended up being one that made Quad Fisher another $10,000. So, will it become his favorite hand? I don't know, but for right now, it probably is.
Yeah, it's going to be long in the memory, that one, that's for sure. And that's why we love mystery bounties. And it's the first time this year, like we've said already, that we had a 10K still available on our final table.
Yep.
And I like to think that Quad Fisher max select ridged this event because they were scrolling through what they might like to play, and they saw that, I could play that one, but I could play this one without any rake. Yeah,
no rake is pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, I don't know how we keep doing it, but we do. And yeah. So now, in addition to 10K, he could win an 8,000 plus first place prize, which would be smaller if there was rake. But there isn't. So congrats.
Do you think that they'll tell the story of the 10-3 offsuit of the prize money, or do you think they'll tell the story that I played this tournament, I won 18, whatever, how many thousands I won, but I didn't pay any rate, guys? What do you think is going to take precedent?
Well, I think both those parts are going to be part of the story, but the true lead is going to be they watch the final table back with these two very handsome and capable commentators.
Yes, clearly.
All three are very equal important parts. Who knows what they're going to really talk about?
Yeah. Well, there is still a lot of poker left to be played, and there's still a lot of money to play for. Obviously, we made a big deal about that 10K, but that's only a little bit more than first place, which is 81.40 and 4,375 for third here. So a pretty big near 4K difference between third and first here, which is not anything to sniff at whatsoever. And whilst we haven't seen any big confrontations yet so far since we have gone three-handed, everyone will be thinking about winning this tournament.
Yeah, and a pot goes over there to equalize. And anyone in this tournament still can win it, obviously. I believe that Quad Fisher obviously is our bounty leader now with that 10K. Alex had 3K before coming in, just in case you weren't aware. And I think Equalize actually has around 2K, came in with like 1K of bounties. But basically, anybody who wins this tournament will win over $10,000.
Yeah. Yeah, they absolutely will. which is a very, very good return for a $109 tournament that didn't have any rake, I have to say. Bias aside.
Yeah. Every week when I bust this tournament, I'm very disappointed because I'm thinking to myself, it would have been great to make a deep run and win that 10K bounty, you know? And to this point, so far, I haven't done that yet, but I'm going to keep trying. And eventually, it's going to probably happen.
Well, I've got some great news for you, Aaron.
Go on.
I've learned from you that you actually don't need to make a very deep run at all in order to win a 10K bounty. You just have to sort of be there or thereabouts when the money goes, and you can come like 300th and still win 10K.
You know, I almost came 300th in the main, so I could do that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel like that's well within your repertoire.
What about you?
Believe in yourself.
I believe that you could also win 10K bounty.
I'm much more handicapped by my severe lack of talent than you are.
But you could just max late reg it. We just saw somebody max late reg and limp 10-3 offsuit, things that I know you're very capable of doing.
I could do them, but I don't think I'd have the 10-3 offsuit in me. I'm very, you know, the reason you swap with me in the main isn't because I'm playing 10-3 offsuit. It's because I make it to the money. I'm a reliable soldier that was going to get your dinner for you.
That's true. It's not because you're playing 10-3. It's because you're not playing ace queen.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I'm not 4-bet jamming Jack 10 suited for 30 bigs on T2. Here's Quad Fisher with the 2 jacks. Is obviously going to be 3-betting this one. First meaningful, strong hand we've seen, 3-handed, but equalize with nothing to speak of, at least in this situation. I mean, definitely could consider this type of hand as maybe a 4-bet bluff, but it is getting a little bit out there.
I think people generally, we have 2 big hands here.
Yeah, these are massive hands.
Equalize.
Unavoidable confrontation here as Alex limps and ace-jack offsuit. Pretty much whatever button they press here, we are going to be off to the races in a flip. 3 big blinds, all in, all the same, because Alex is going to be limp jamming these 2 10s here, and equalize is going to be snapping off the ace jack. Really, really, really big pot here. Well, functionally the same thing. We're going to get there eventually, Aaron.
Here we are.
There we go. Took us a little bit long. We went around the houses, but we got there in the end. And here is the flop 7-7 deuce, looking for an ace or a jack. And there is an ace for equalize with a 10 on the river for Alex. Is going to double them all the way up and pretty much give us even stacks across the board. And if anyone was wondering whatsoever who the luckier of myself and Aaron Baroni is, well, the proof is in the pudding, as they say. Aaron, potentially, maybe, some say the luckiest player ever in player picks out of all the 2 players that have ever played.
Not just player picks. Other streamers say I'm just the luckiest streamer also. So it's really a great narrative to follow you around to undercut any accomplishment you ever have. So it's fun. Why not have it here too?
Yes. My narrative is I'm glad that you keep pumping my narrative because it's important to me. Basically the entire brand at this point.
I'm happy.
If you haven't seen my most recent YouTube video, guys, and you're wondering, wow, this guy can't possibly run as bad as he says he does, just go and have a little look. I guarantee you've never seen anything like it in your entire life.
Is it like any of the other videos where you run bad?
No, this is like nothing you've ever seen before.
All right. Well, 2 pair now for Quad Fisher, who also has gotten pretty lucky this tournament.
You could say that. By the way, before this tournament, the biggest ever bounty that Quad Fisher won was $500. That's 20 times. It's quite a lot more. Ace on the river here changes nothing about the leader of this hand as Quad Fisher still with that 2 pair. Equalized with a pair of kings, which has been downgraded to 2nd pair from top pair on the turn. Quad Fisher will be feeling pretty good about this being the best hand and will need to put some chips in to that effect. And if they do go for a sizable bet here and equalize calls, we will have a new chip leader here, Aaron. That is a huge bet. Going to go for the overbet. Going to polarize. Going to say, well, I've got a really, really strong hand. Or I have got dust. And equalize can beat dust, but they cannot beat strong hands. It's just a matter of whether they believe that their hand does a pretty good job or not of beating those bluffs and equalize the size that it does. Quad Fisher, 10K bounty already in the pocket. Now chip lead heading into 3-handed for the first time since the early stages of this FT. Quad Fisher in the lead and equalized back down to 30 bigs.
Yeah, I was thinking about this when Quad Fisher showed up in the chat. I was like, does it mean it's more or less likely that they're going to win this tournament? I think it's more likely, right? Because they show up in the chat. Hey, how's everyone doing? Don't mind me. I'm just about to win $8,000. But then they won the 10K bounty.
Yeah, it could
so
easily
is that
be
enough?
Yeah. I could easily imagine them spraying it off and then just being like, hey guys, won 10K, don't care what happened after that.
Yeah.
You know? But they are here with the chip lead and they are now favorites to take this one down as well. And I'm sorry that you're here, Quad Fisher. I'd like to tell you now, your current favorite host may well be Aaron Baroni, but I'd like to let you know that he does not like it one bit if people win the big bounty and win the whole tournament. That is his biggest pet peeve. Okay. I personally don't mind. Just saying.
I like it if I'm the one doing the winning.
Yes.
Just so you guys know.
Have you ever done that before?
I want to clarify. No. But in theory, it sounds great.
It sounds like we've got to the root of the issue of why you're unable to compartmentalize people winning both.
I'm a big believer of, letting many people be happy. One gets the 10K bounty, one gets the 8K title. I think that's good.
I think it's more to do with individual people being too happy that you have a problem with.
Of all the people to tell me that.
I'm self-aware. I know my vices. I'm not trying to defend myself. I'm just saying that you paint yourself to be this, white knight of poker, but
I am.
You don't like it when people win too much money.
It means other people can't win some money, right?
Yes.
Just like if we did these giveaways here for tickets and we're just like one person in the chat, you get all the tickets, piss off everybody else. That'd be terrible. But we spread it out over the course of many tickets, for the whole stream. And so more people get to experience joy. That's what I'm here. I'm not for the, I guess it's like a capitalism thing where one person gets all the tickets, all the bounties and all the prizes. I like it spread out. However, if I am actually Quad Fisher's favorite commentator and poker player, sure, let's go for him. Let's root for him.
Why can't you just be the favorite poker player and I can have the other one? I don't really have much going on.
Okay, we can chop that. It's fine. Oh, by the way, I am still rooting for Alex, who has earned me a point.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Quad, he doesn't even want you to win. He wants Alex to win. I'm happy for you to win.
you weren't initially.
No, but he's here now, so I am. Anyway, we have got more tickets to give away to you today, guys. We have got a few more giveaways, one keyword, and we will be asking Aaron a silly question, and you'll be trying to guess what he thinks the answer to that question is later on in today's stream. But for now, we are battling, we are three-handed, and we are no closer to winning or finding out who's going to win, this tournament.
Yeah, and equalize here with the flush draw. Quad Fisher flatted the small blind here with ace 10.
You nearly went for the Quad Fisher fatted there.
Yeah. Quad Flasher flitted.
It is a little, for some reason, we are struggling with this name sometimes. Equalize turns the best hand, and River's an even better one here on the 3 of spades. Flush for equalize, just ace high for Quad Fisher, who will be trying to get to showdown as cheaply as possible, I would imagine. Equalize will not be allowing said cheap showdowns as they are inevitably going to fire out some chips into this pot, and we'll be hoping they can just carve off a few from the stack of Quad Fisher they had to relinquish to them earlier on, and they're going to go for a really, really large bet. Another polarizing bet. Will Quad Fisher be the bait on the end of the line this time? No, they get the max value from their overbet before and dodge the value of equalize before. Pretty much success in a nutshell, Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, it worked out really well for Quad Fisher so far. I really don't know if any bet actually gets called there. The equalize went for the giant bet, but he was up against a hand that, has no spade, just ace high. Might be close to the bottom of Quad Fisher's checking range.
Yeah, for sure. Quad Fisher picks up another one. Still, as you were here, with just over 10 minutes left until what we assume will probably be another break, Aaron. I don't think, it's obviously possible, but it is looking less and less likely that we see this being finished in the next 10 minutes before the next break. So plenty of time to give you guys the tickets that you so deserve. And don't forget, guys, we'll be spinning that Wheel of Justice after the end of today's stream. One of you winning $320 ticket. I did see earlier on that Wardenario won one of our tickets on the wheel. I don't know if you remember this. They won $1,500 off of that ticket, Aaron.
Oh, really?
Real belugs, real dollary doos.
When did they play the 320?
I don't know. I would need more information. I am just going off the information that I've been given. I'm merely a portrayer of information, not the actual source.
I see. Okay, that's fine. I also did well in the 320 last week, but I got second, so I wonder if they had cashed it. I do plan on playing it again this week. I'll play it probably on Thursday. The Thursday one.
There we go, guys. Aaron will be playing on Thursday.
So if you guys get your ticket in time and you win, you can play with me. Otherwise, you can play without me.
Okay, a check back here from Alex with a jack of spades, by the way.
Pretty tight check. I think you just value bet that. People are kind of afraid of value betting the river in those spots because they're like, what if I get raised? But most of the time when you value bet the river, you're not one and call your whole stack off, but you think your hand's good enough to be betting. And that's why you bet.
Yeah, it can sometimes just be a product of the fact that, you do have a flush. It's not the best possible flush. There are a couple of ones that are better than yours, and it's not entirely clear what you are going to get called by in that line that's worse. Obviously, if they do have a flush, but they may well have bet that themselves, and you don't really want to open yourself up to getting check raised. Playing devil's advocate, I think generally speaking, we just do want to bet, but that's probably what was going through the mind of Alex.
Yeah, I think it's a very common thing that people just end up, when they're not sure or they think it's too thin, they just check. But I also think people actually underestimate how much value they can get. We've seen it a lot on the stream where someone will bet third pair for value and get called by ace high. It's not that uncommon. If someone thinks you're bluffing, they're going to look you up.
3-7s here for Quad Fisher. Nothing doing for equalize, but I've seen Quad Fisher let people catch up before to the tune of 10k. So do they want to go ahead and lay another trap here? We know that probably any bet gets things done here, but there's a little bit of semblance of hope for the Jack 6 of diamonds. We've got some backdoor flush draw potentials. We've got some cards in our hand that if we pair them could be good. And as a result, equalize is going to take this hand as a check raise. The timing could not be worse.
No, he's pretty much just ran into Quad Fisher having the best hand the entire time here. And this happens once again. Again, Jack 6 has some backdoor equity.
Yeah, Quad Fisher's going to rebet the flop rather than call in position and allow equalize to do their thing. They are just hoping that they can get some more money in the pot now and make this more uncomfortable for equalize. But equalize, as we know, nothing to hang on with here.
Yeah, and at some level, if your opponent keeps being, really aggressive and sticky, it's very easy for you to take a more aggressive action than you might normally. Like I did that recently against someone who'd just been very aggressive and, basically bluff shoved my flush draw, straight draw, ran right into their nuts. Never a great spot. Never want to run into it.
You don't want to be doing that.
You don't. Maybe you do, but I did not.
Yeah. Well, there we go. Little bit of daylight here between Quad Fisher and Equalize as most of these pots heading the way of the 10k bounty winner. And Alex hasn't really been that involved, but still hovering around the 30 big blind mark. Very healthy situation to be in, just allowing the other two to battle away against each other.
Well, this is kind of the benefit Alex has where he is the chip leader on his right, so he'll have position in the blind on blind spots. And Equalize will never, doesn't get that. He has to play out of position versus the chip leader who's been aggressive and honestly has had the best hand versus him repeatedly. So just the seeding situation is what I think makes it harder for Equalize.
Yeah.
Here he lip calls with now flop second pair. Quad Fisher with nothing.
Yeah, total boogs here for Quad Fisher, just 6 high, no diamond in hand. Probably going to be one of those hands that he just allows to try and trickle away down to the river and not really. They have to win every pot, Aaron. It's not necessary. We do turn a pair of 6s, though, on the 6 of spades. Maybe keeps them around a little bit longer as Equalize may start to think that this could be the best hand, and they are correct on this occasion. Healthy size, though, and there's a chance that Quad Fisher still just goes ahead and folds this turn, and they do.
Yeah, good fold by them. I think calling's actually decent, especially if there are a lot of rivers you think you can bluff on, like the straight or flush completers or an ace. Maybe if your opponent checks, you could just bluff, but he just gets out of the way.
Yep, out the way indeed. And now Quad Fisher with the chance to play against Alex for what feels like the first time today. The other two have just been battling each other non-stop. Alex just biding their time, maybe trying to squeeze their way into heads-up play and going to go for the 3-bet here with King 3 offsuit. A super interesting situation here as Alex takes that King of Spades, uses it as a blocker to Quad Fisher's very best hands. But Quad Fisher with a hand that could 4-bet bluff itself, but does decide to let it go. Alex has been quiet, and I think that probably fed into maybe allowing Alex to have this one.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. I think the ace-3 could be used as a 4-bet bluff. But Quad Fisher was just thinking what you were thinking. Like, he hasn't really done that much. Alex been kind of quiet. I can let this one go. And that's why, sometimes when you are on the tighter side, you can get away with stuff like that other people might not be able to do as long as you apply it selectively.
Yeah, and before we go to our break, we are going to do our keyword. And that keyword is going to be delivered to you right now. And the keyword is for a $109 ticket, Fisher King. Fisher King, courtesy of our 10K bounty with a Quad Fisher. Fisher King is your keyword. Put it in the chat if you would like to win a $109 ticket. That is your way of doing so. We will draw that before we get to our break in about 6 minutes' time.
And Alex goes for a little value bet here and just runs in it slightly better.
Yeah, annoying for Alex. And now both of those players on 28 big blinds, while Quad Fisher still retains that chip lead on 55. But both players one double up away themselves versus Quad Fisher of being that new chip leader. Pretty much would be status quo, just with a different chip leader. But there is the opportunity that Alex and Equalize get into a bit of a muddle and end up giving a heads-up match over to the other 55 big blinds deep, which could take all night, Aaron. You never know.
I mean, eventually the blinds go up high enough where they'll be forced all in, but that's a couple hours away. Again, it was very quick to get us down to 6 or 5 players, taking a lot longer for the final 4. Again, once that bounty got eliminated, it's really slowed things down. Another 3-bet bluff from Alex with the big little. Yeah,
loves that big little, using it as we talk about this a lot, Aaron. You'll be much more eloquent than I will, I hope, given that that's actually your role to be eloquent. Why the big card and the little card?
The main idea is, you said it before, the big card will block some of their better hands, and the little card means that your hand's actually not that great, right? So when you have King 10, it's like, oh, this is actually a pretty reasonable hand. But when you have King Deuce, not so great, doesn't flop that well. So King Deuce still has the blocker removal of the high card of blocks Ace King and Kings, King Queen type stuff. And that Deuce, again, not something you really want to take to a flop.
And I hear people talk about unblockers, Aaron, when describing these little dangly 3s and 2s. Anything to say there?
I mean, I haven't thought of it as an unblocker in terms of like what, like unblocking them from having like a 7-6 suited. Yeah,
exactly. Like having the middling hands that may just fold to your 3-bet.
Yeah, I think of unblocker more myself when I think of post flop spots, but it could be used as pre. Sure. Yeah, I think the blocker part is more important.
Sure.
That you block their good hands.
Yeah.
But that's why you use it. That's it. Yeah.
I never heard you said like the way you said it before, but it makes a lot of sense. I just thought people would keep him fancy and saying things like unblocker, but really, yeah, you're right. Your hand isn't that great post flop. You got removal to some good hands. You don't really want to relinquish all the pots, and the main reason being, if we get jammed on, go ahead. We don't care. Our hand is awful.
I haven't wasted the equity of a King Jack or something, right? But just so you guys know, chat, Nick does not ask me these questions ahead of time, and I don't pretend to know the answer ahead of time. He just asks it, and I go, we're going to see if I know this one. I'll try to explain it. And when he prefaces it with, like, you're going to be so eloquent, he just sets the bar up here. I'm just hoping to get really close to it. That's my goal every time.
I mean, you are pretty jacked. You could just lift yourself above the bar.
This is why you get second every week. Master of the week.
Anyway, congratulations to 22 Zorro, who won our $109 ticket off of that keyword. So good luck with that ticket, guys. And to be honest, I have to say, guys, I am not happy with the amount of people that report back to us. Maybe you're all just losing, but I want to hear that as well. if you play a $109 tournament with our ticket, which I assume you're doing, I assume you're just not letting it expire in your account. Tell us how that went. We want to know exactly what happened. Even if it went badly. In fact, especially if it went badly.
I do think we should establish some sort of leaderboard.
Yes.
I would like in the future of like people who redeem tickets and what they cash for in the tournament. I think it'd be a really fun thing to keep track of.
Yeah.
You know, and again, we could treat it like a Hendon Mob thing where you only have to report back if you won, if you really want to.
Flush here for Quad Fisher, a straight but a thoroughly underwhelming one for Alex. Mega kill. Quad Fisher again with the best of it on this river, but neither player happy. 10% pot here from Quad Fisher, just looking for a crying call from exactly the type of hand that Alex has, and that may have been the max they could have gotten out of that one.
Yeah, I was wondering if you'd pick like a small size, like 3 big blinds, but 1 is around that. And given that price, you can't blame Alex either. You're getting 10-1. You have a straight. What if your opponent blocks 2 pair for 1 big blind? Like, sure.
Yeah. And we haven't really had a lot of movement in our chip stack since we went to 3-handed play. There's been a lot of interesting pots, like small pots. Nothing major has happened apart from the flip that we saw between Equalizer and Alex Mega Kill. Generally speaking, there hasn't been that much in the way of large confrontation, and we might end up needing one of those before the night is done if we're going to get this ending at any reasonable hour.
Yeah, it is. I mean, this is normally how our final tables play, right? But it is sort of jarring to watch it after seeing all the action we saw earlier.
Yeah.
With the Bounty in play. It just, it feels like we're watching 2 different games than the one before.
Oh, we really are.
Yes, correct. And because now they're playing 4 ladders, right? The ICM is really important, where before it was playing for which one of us could have the blessing of the 10-3 off and knock out that short stack player.
Mm. Yeah. But it looks like we are going to be heading into another break here with only losing 1 player in the last hour, and that was for that 10,000 bounty. So going to be heading into a 3rd segment here this evening, guys, after this hand. And Quad Fisher behind right now, but with probably a little bit more in the way of playability in terms of barreling this one off. Alex will obviously be sticking around with that pair of 4s, but you can imagine Quad Fisher being very aggressive on the turn here.
Yeah, most turns, Alex is not going to be very happy to call another barrel on. And if Quad Fisher continues to apply aggression, Alex does not improve. It's going to be hard for Alex to win this pot unless he gets just really sticky.
Yeah, Alex
that is a way.
Gonna raise the flop, and I don't think that will be the end of matters. Quadfish has a very clean out to the nuts, and could take it away on future streets.
And Alex has been really aggressive blind on blind these last few orbits, right? Wow, he does just fold.
Wow, he's gonna let it go. Decides that Alex doesn't have enough in front of them to make it worth it to go ahead and float versus that raise, and Alex hasn't been very aggressive, as we've already pointed out. And again, we are off to a break. The 10K is gone, but $8,140 to play for when we come back.
Here comes 700,000 from Murciano, and from what we know of Falcon, he's going to jam. Murciano absolutely snaps it off, and there is 8.9 million chips in this pot. Now ace-10 suited, facing the open of Dancy, who will not fancy playing a significant pot with Murciano. Just going to call. But in great shape. Pipping the ace-8 suited of Dancy. So we take a flop. And it does have an ace, but it also has an 8. 2 pair for Dancy. And Murciano pairs his ace and will believe there's a good chance it's ahead. Not always. Doesn't have to be a total disaster for Murciano, this one.
No, but definitely has one of the stronger hands in his range here. And versus small bet, we've seen him be aggressive before. This time decides just to call.
Three of clubs on the turn. Murciano picks up a flush draw and checks. Dancy will almost certainly bet the turn. And will need to fade a club to avoid disaster.
Yeah, definitely want to be value betting your two pair here. And Murciano doesn't really mind if his opponent bets. Yes, he could be behind, but he has so much equity and a very strong bluff catcher. You almost hope your opponent bets, and he gets what he might want.
550k from Dancy is big. A large bet.
He bet one big blind on the flop, and now pot on the turn. He'll have about 1 million behind if called into a pot of 1.6, setting up a potential river jam. And there are a lot of rivers that Marciano wants him to jam on.
Announces call. And this is a monumental river for these players, as it's hard to imagine Dancy would be dissuaded by a club from value betting the river, depending on its nature. Murciano looking to find the backdoor nut flush to put Dancy in serious trouble. The river's the king of clubs. Murciano takes the lead with the nuts and has not checked yet.
He hasn't checked yet. Opponent does have a little over half pot behind, maybe 1.1 and a 1.7. Typically, you will check here when you have the ace of clubs because you block top pair hands as well. So you want to give your opponent a chance to bluff, but he is leading at it.
He's going to lead small. Really, really small. Designed to look like a stunting bet, to encourage Dancy to believe that his hand may be best. And Dancy, faced with the opportunity to reopen the action and go for more value with his two pair. How often does he believe that Murciano leads this small with a hand this good?
You don't see it that often. You do want to have it in part of the range. Use the time bank there. Now we are at a final table, so winning the max amount of chips is not the most important thing. You do want to ladder. You do want to make more money. And so, because of the situation, you might be more inclined to call. But it is a very small
He's all
bet.
in. Murciano is going to double check the nuts and snap it off, and Dancy runs into the trap of the big Spaniard. Went for the value. You really...
Welcome back to the third hour of today's main event. Nikisha's here alongside Aaron Baroni. We have seen the $10,000 bounty go, but we are still waiting to crown a champion. It's been quiet, relatively speaking, since that bounty did pop, but lots of very interesting small pots that I know get Aaron Baroni going in a certain way.
I do enjoy them. We really have. I don't think we've seen actually like a spot post where it's good hand versus good hand.
No, we haven't.
Right? It's been like a lot of nothing versus slightly something.
Yeah.
And it's just hard to have confrontations without that.
Yeah.
But you know, these small pots do add up. It does matter. I think all three opponents actually have been willing to fight for them, which is rare. I think a lot of times we've, at this point, identified an opponent or two that's been more aggressive and more in the vein of going after it. But all three of these have battled in their own way. And that's part of why they're still here. Yeah,
they certainly have. And Quadfish are probably just edging it ever so slightly at this time. But any one of these players could definitely win this tournament. It's not out of the reach of any of them. Equalize here with ace high. Maybe going to try to show this one down. Won't be allowed, as Quadfisher does indeed have top pair.
Dan, you wonder what sizing is going to go for here.
I think in this line, it's very reasonable to assume that they have the best hand. But it is going to be something in the smaller region, around 40% of the pot or thereabouts. Equalize, deciding whether ace high could potentially be good here, and is going to go for the call. Quadfisher, by the way, I said he might be edging it overall, and this is kind of the reason why picking the best size is to get the maximum value earlier on, picking along the same lines here, smaller sizing to get that maximum value. Hand reading, very, very important. And the reading of the situations to see how likely it is based on the range that my opponent's going to have. How much can I bet with this particular hand to get paid? And generally speaking, they're just picking the best size more often than not. And that is resulting in a little bit of a chip lead here.
I think that's an underrated thing that people don't do as much now with in the solver era is they'll be like, well, I need to pick 2/3. My range should pick 2/3. And it's like, okay, why don't you pick the size when you have it that you think is going to get called? Right. And so I think by deviating from theory, people will say you're playing wrong. But a lot of times that's the way to make the most amount of money. And for a lot of people, that's kind of why you play the game.
Yeah, not even necessarily to get called, but the question more operatively is, what do I do to get the most money? What do I get to do? What do I press to get the most chips? Yes. How do I get my opponent to do what I want them to do? If it's to call, what's the sizing? If it's to raise me, what's the sizing? If it's to bluff me, how do I approach the situation? And as you rightly say, it's not always what the computer says that is going to do that, because at the end of the day, we are playing against human beings for a lot of money, and that does change things a little bit.
Definitely. And I will say that I don't think Equalize had a spot against Quad Fisher where, he's been shown a bluff. I feel like Quad Fisher's just had it against him in all these situations, which has been really unfortunate because Equalize keeps thinking like, all right, well, you're eventually going to bluff, right? No, you still have it again.
Yeah.
And here we go, Alex.
Yeah, Alex coming out here with the 7 high. A straight draw, but a pretty underwhelming one because obviously that 10 would not be what we're looking for. It's only really a 5 that we're going to be happy with. Equalize can't fold now because obviously they have the 2 pair, but having bet the turn and leaving themselves with near pot, around 80% pot back for Alex, it's hard to imagine a world where we don't bluff this one.
Yeah, it's a great combo to be bluffing it. You are afraid of a Jack 10 or 10-9, but Alex goes for it, and 2 pair here does not feel great at all. Pure bluff catcher, and folds it very quickly. Great spot for Alex. A lot of people just give up on the scary river, and he decides this is the exact card I needed to win this pot.
Yeah, and Alex following through beautifully there, understanding that a lot of Equalizer's calls on the turn become very unhappy on that 4 straight completion on the river.
Yeah, it's really only Jack 10 and King 10 that really want to, that play that way. I think that are going to call the end. So really well done by Alex.
Yeah, excellent work from Alex. Gets that bluff through. We haven't seen loads of bluffs get through. We've seen bluffs.
Yeah,
most of them have been called. So it's always fun to see one get through, and Alex using potentially their image to their advantage as well, given the fact that they haven't been like overly active, or at least they haven't shown lots of aggressive moves over the course of the FT. They've been aggressive, but not when they've had to table their hand.
Yeah, and it feels like they haven't been involved in that many big pots, right? Like even though we saw that big all in the one earlier with Ace King, and that last pot was the biggest one I think I've seen. I can remember them really being in, but they have been aggressive in blind on blind situations. Like when the good situation has come up, they've taken advantage of it, but they just really haven't had that many opportunities overall.
No, and given that, it has to be said that they played extremely well to be in the situation that they're in with 27.5 big blinds, although that could be somewhat diminished here as they find themselves dominated by Equalizer's Ace 10 offsuit here. 13.5 big blinds on the button is going to go for the committing raise to 8 bigs, and Alex probably just on the cusp of where you'd want to be here with Ace 6. It might just not be strong enough.
Yeah, you're ahead of the Broadway type hands that Equalize will have here, but I would rather have a King Queen in this spot. I think I just do better against the range my opponent's going to have. And Ace 6 is very close. I think Ace 9 suited gets in for sure.
Gonna let it go after using the whole time bank as well. So maybe something to keep an eye on there. Alex with nothing left in the bank to make any further decisions beyond that blue timer you see at the bottom of their name right now. So they will need to be making sure that they don't allow that to creep down if they have a tough decision. Want to be in control of your own destiny, at least.
a blind on
limp
blind
here.
spot here now. Yeah.
Lots of these spots, nothing really meaty along the course of this three-handed match. Only the 10s against Ace Jack has been forced upon our players. Everything else they've had to cultivate for themselves, and they've done a great job of doing so as well, it has to be said. It's pure poker. We're playing cards here, Aaron.
Yeah, and I know for the viewer, some of you might want to see a lot of these bigger pots, and at times they will come depending on the confrontation of the two hands. But like again, these small pots really do matter, and it's just each of these little ones can make a big difference later in the tournament, especially even just learning how your opponent plays these small ones. And here, after checked 3 times, Quad Fisher decides Jack High's not good. I'm going to bluff it. And finally, Equalize catches him speeding and wins the pot.
I mean, they checked all the way down there to cultivate that exact situation and finally managed to shave off a couple off the top of Quad Fisher's stack and get them up to 17 big blinds. Gasping for air a little bit there for the first time, but now maybe treading water a little bit more on the 17 big blind stack. Looks pretty comfortable as Alex is going to get out of the way here with 6-3 offsuit. And I am going to give you guys a chance to win another $109 ticket by asking Aaron a silly question. Aaron, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Guys, we're going to play Aaron Thinks. I'm going to ask Aaron a question. Aaron is going to the best of his abilities try and guess what the answer to that question is. You are looking for what you think Aaron thinks the answer is, not the actual answer to the question, which may or not be attainable anyway. You are trying to get the closest of everybody to Aaron's answer. The closest person will win a $109 ticket. No duplicate answers. If your answer has already been taken, you may guess one more time. You cannot guess more than one unique answer. Everyone understand? That's fantastic. Let's go ahead and get into this one. Aaron, we'll be going over to play the World Series Poker main event in just a couple of weeks' time. That is mad, isn't it? Crazy.
It is. I didn't know it was so close, but it's 2 weeks away pretty much for when I leave.
Yeah. We'll be representing Ace-8 Poker as you have done so for the past few years. I would like to know from yourself to the nearest hour, how many hours have you spent representing Ace-8 Poker in live tournaments? How many hours have you spent representing Ace-8 Poker in live tournaments since you joined the team?
So just clarification, does that mean do I have to be in the tournament itself?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right.
You have to have been being dealt in. As Aaron gets his teeth into that one, we still have a three-way match here that is no closer to being finished. And by this point, around an hour into this three-handed match, you would have anticipated maybe more than one all-in pre-flop. But that just hasn't been the case. There's just not been significant confrontation. Everyone's having to navigate the small pots, as we've already spoken about over and over again. And Quad Fisher, generally, what we've already said, is coming out on top of those confrontations more often than not. But it only takes one situation to change everything. 6 high here for Equalize, just king high for Alex, but a little bit more going on for Equalize, who does have a gut shot and maybe more inclined to begin to try to win this pot, and certainly will feel inclined on the 4 of spades turn as they make a straight, and Alex may not be done with this one yet, as with king high and that backdoor straight draw now has the opportunity to go ahead and call. Does not make their hand on the river, just king high, and now Equalize will probably pop in the last 10.5 big blinds, and it probably is a bridge too far for Alex to be hanging on here. Nonetheless, Alex will have a short, brief moment to think about this one before tossing their hand into the mark, and the gap between the chip leader and the other 2 players does get incrementally larger.
My answer is locked in, by the way. I had to do some math on it. It was definitely a harder question than I thought it would be. I had to think about my entire time, all the tournaments I played, all the times I didn't win it. And now
every time.
It was every time, actually. That's correct.
Yeah, I can't say the same.
I did get second in the most recent tournament we played together.
Yes. You also got 5th in a tournament that I won.
Yes.
Which was a great performance from you. You also got third in a tournament that Lime won.
Yes. Really, I'm just actually feeding my chips to the next person who gets to win. I'm really happy to help. They should actually put my name below your name on the trophy.
I have to say that I did not get any of your chips directly whatsoever. I didn't win one hand against you.
You got a lot of blinds when it was close to the bubble. That was really
I did. Well, you were the only one that was playing back at me, to be fair. Anyway, we've spoken enough about my closer victory at London 88 Live in 2025, so we should move on. Trophy or no trophy? And I do have a trophy, and Aaron does not.
No trophy here.
As 57 big blinds in the hand of Quad Fisher, and the other two now, as our blinds have increased down below the 20 mark. It's the first time since entering three-handed play that our other two players have had sub 20 bigs. It's obviously still very playable, but getting a little less comfortable.
Yeah, and the other thing that happens is now if one of the short stacks doubles up to the chip leader, right, they will still get pretty much be tied for the chip lead, but as their stack whittles down, there's less incentive them for actually to gamble and try to double up. Really, there is future game of you double up, you get chip lead, you get to run the table, but as Quad Fisher expands their lead, that becomes less likely. So definitely a tough spot for our two short stacks. We're battling here.
Another intense battle where just no one has anything, and everyone's just trying to get their share of the pie to have a chance of being in with a shout when the inevitable all is begin to happen. And there we go. Almost timing out there was Alex. Eventually gets their small bet out on the river, but equalized with King High is just going to call and hope to be able to beat anything that Alex could be bluffing with. And Alex indeed is bluffing on this occasion for that small sizing. Maybe they might have done something different if they had more time. We shall never know. But 15 bigs now for Alex is the shortest they've been.
I think a small size is actually okay what they were trying to do. I think they're just trying to fold out a hand like Jack 8 with a heart, right? They have a pretty low in range type hand. They never think they're making a full house fold. And, King High is close to a full house, but maybe Queen High with a heart folds, Jack High with a heart, all those hands that 8 high or 7 high were behind to.
Yeah. And Quad Fisher here has been very, very aggressive, and it has worked out for them, but aggression here would be met with resistance, and they get out of the way. Some nice timing again for Quad Fisher. Contest is closed. We will allow that last answer to come through from NetJam. Hope you had a good evening today, NetJam.
Congrats on getting the answer in NetJam. Spoiler, you didn't win. Sorry, buddy. But I'm glad you got it in.
Yes. We just wanted to feel that you were being included. But alas.
I don't
I wasn't going to say anything. It was just going to become clear that you hadn't won.
I think it's fun. I don't know. I think it's a fun thing to do. We'll see how he likes it.
It's NetJam. It's a she.
Fire off an email to 888. How dare you?
NetJam's name is Annette, Aaron.
Oh, pardon me.
Pardon you indeed. Sorry about that. Annette.
I just play you told me this once before, and I just, really
Yes, you
forgot.
should know better. Yes, it is rude. You're
I
right.
will never make that mistake again this whole week.
Next week, who knows, guys? As we move into potentially the end game here, obviously, Alex, we're getting into the region of not only 3-bet shoves, but maybe just open shoves, specifically from the small blind into the big. Very reasonable to be jamming something like 16 bigs into equalize here when you're Alex. Blind versus blind.
Yeah, both players could have taken more aggressive routes here with their hands, but decide to see a flop.
Indeed, does
both
decide to.
The best hand. So
Yeah,
I don't know how much betting we'll see.
I mean, this is keeping in pattern with what we have seen so far, three-handed, right? Both players with some sort of description of showdown, and both players having to navigate pretty uncomfortable situations. But that's poker sometimes. It's not always kings versus aces, unless you're me.
We see a check raise here, which is pretty unstandard. Sometimes with ace high, you just think you have the best hands you're going to call. He does have some backdoors as well. And maybe you can just clear out a hand like this, like a queen jack, just deny equity.
Good stuff there. Unstandard. Didn't realize that that was That was the way to say that. I believe you're looking for non-standard.
They're both acceptable, actually.
Are they unstandard? Is it? Not to me, it's not. I'm not having that. Unstandard. Come on.
Yeah. Unstandard most commonly refers to something that does not conform to a standard rule or established norm. Thank you.
I'm not having unstandard. It's got to be non-standard. What do we think, guys? Are we letting that? Are we letting him have that? Yeah, but you know, everything these days is up for debate, isn't it? We get a jam here from Alex. What's your source?
I don't know, the first page of Google.
Yeah, see, I don't know, man. I can't trust that. Alex Mega Kill going to take one down here, as we said. We're going to get 3-bet jams, and a pretty aggressive one there with the King 10 offsuit. And we could be seeing some action here, obviously equalized with the Ace King. I think if you had seen the hands reversed, we may have seen a little bit more action.
Correct. We might have seen a shove over and a call. But
Yeah.
Alex Ace 4 likely behind here, so he does fold.
Aaron Baroni, I
Yeah.
asked you, how many hours have you spent in live tournaments representing 888 poker? Your
So this
thoughts
was-
and answer, please.
Yeah, it was difficult for me. I had to go through every live event I've went to. So quickly, just really quickly, I mean, 9-3. So Coventry, London, Barcelona twice, Madrid once, and Vegas 3 times. I think that's what it is. And I realized that in Vegas, I played a lot more than just the main. But this last year, I played the main for 4.5 days. So that's like 45 hours right there. All on a call.
All in a call indeed here as Alex Megakill looking for a way out, but not finding one on the turn and does not find one on the river either. 8 of spades rolls off, equalized with ace high is going to take this pot down. And now we are finally heads up and equalize actually edging the chip lead here. And thankfully for me, Aaron, Alex Megakill out in third, not risking me losing another point. 14-10 will be the final result of this week going into next. Phew.
Great result, Alex. As we mentioned many times, you
brilliant
didn't
result.
have much to work with, and you just made the best of like the rags that you had. And yeah, congrats, man. 3rd place. Way to go. Anyway, how many hours did I rep the brand?
Yeah, go ahead.
Really quickly. So that one main event run is a significant chunk of it, but I added it all up and I came to a conclusion of 230 hours.
230 hours is the exact answer, and the closest to that was PokerStars Hungary, 224, which is a damn good guess. Merciless guess 216. Good, but not good enough. PokerStars Hungary, congratulations. Yeah, you have won the 1-9 ticket. We do have one more ticket to give away today, guys, and that will be the culmination of our heads-up match as we do our Wheel of Justice spin for the last ticket of the day. And equalize here, rivering a straight. Already had the best hand. Will Quad Fisher bluff at this one with just Jack High?
He might. I mean, it's hard to have a worse hand than Jack High here, right? There's a 9 high you can have, and that's actually it.
Yeah, and we know this is not enough for equalize. They will want to be raising this one. And, 40 big blind effective with these two guys, how thoughtful they've been in a lot of spots, taking their time to make sure they make the right decisions. We could be here a while.
Definitely could. And Quad Fisher's hand, I imagine one that just gets to fold. I think it's actually more interesting here if you get here with a hand like 9-3, if you want to decide to put another raise in on the river. But
yeah, you don't really see the 3-bet bluffs on that kind of board, do you? Because your opponent's saying they have at least a straight, and you're asking them to fold that, which is not a popular thing, or maybe even a prudent thing to be doing.
I like trying to find spots that people don't bluff enough and then deciding I'm going to start bluffing them, right? Because those are the ones that I think population will give you the most credit on. And I think that is one that would work. Would they fold a straight heads up? Maybe not, right? So I mean, that part's true. But if you get them to fold a lot of good hands and you have a hand as bad as 9 high, just pop them right back.
Yeah, definitely could be the strategy. Quad Fisher now the least comfortable they've been since winning the big bounty. 32 big blinds, obviously still very much in this one. Still very much in the mix to win this one, but now equalize, having gone from huge chip leader early doors to even bigger chip leader later on after that, to having to relinquish it to being down to near 10 big blinds, and now again chip leader heads up. It's been a roller coaster for them. They didn't win the 10K, but they can be in with a good chance here of winning the big 8,140 prize for first place.
Now, Equalize has already won this tournament once before. They were once crowned champion of this mystery bounty, and Quad Fisher, who won our big bounty today of 10K, has finished second place before. So both of them have experience heads up in this sort of tournament, this exact tournament, and that should serve them well for this match.
Oh, what a sick value bet here from Quad Fisher.
He decides the value bet.
Excuse me.
Pair.
Yeah.
And that's the spot if you get raised, then you can, if you get raised there, then you can put it in.
Didn't get the call from probably the exact hand they were looking to get the call from, so can consider that a disappointing outcome for Quad Fisher, who is obviously trying to extract the maximum from their 7, and that is what you have to do heads up. It's quite often most of the battle.
Yeah, but getting value and avoiding giving value yourself. Again, both these players have also, I do want to give them a shout for taking their time in making decisions. A lot of times here, because of the time bank, we see players act more quickly than they need to. And they don't, I think, give themselves a full chance to think about the spots. And both these players have, done the opposite of that and taken my advice of really just thinking about the situation and then placing your bet.
And contrary to maybe popular belief, it's usually a sign of better players because they have more things in their head to weigh up. Mm-hmm. There's more things to consider. There's more things to remember from what they've seen before, potentially when studying. Quick action usually is the result of gaps in knowledge, I would say. Or if you're acting really, really quick and you just know everything, like you, for example, that could also be an option. Gonna get a call here from the King High from Equalize, and obviously Quad Fisher can have the best hand. Back to even.
Yeah, another really nice value bet there in Quad Fisher. Like, I think that if he tells this, the tail of this tournament back, obviously the 10-3 off 10K bounty will be the meat of the story. Yeah. But, all these small value bets have really allowed him to just maintain this chip stack.
Ace Jack here, Quad Fisher nowhere near this one, equalized with 3 aces. But I think the damage will be limited for Quad Fisher. Don't see any reason for them to lose any more chips here, and neither do they. And the winner of this tournament will be getting $8,140. Just a mere $6,000 or so for second place. And as we know, Quad Fisher already with 10K to their name.
Yeah, and Quad Fisher wrote in the chat maybe that their value bet earlier was bad. The one where they bet the 7 trying to get value to the 5 and Equalize had folded the 5. I don't think it means it's a bad value bet just because it didn't work. I just think that your opponent ends up making a good fold. Like, if these are the 2 hands that you have 4th pair, they have 5th, how do you get paid? If you check, no one gets paid. If you bet, it's your only chance. So it's a good value bet, I think. It just didn't work out.
Yeah. Opening up here is Equalize, and the best hand we've seen in this heads-up match. Ace-Jack offsuit for Quad Fisher. Can go either way. Decides to 3-bet this one, and that's completely reasonable. But Queen 7 suited, a fairly decent heads-up hand, especially when played in position, even in a 3-bet pot. And Equalize could definitely decide to go ahead and call this one, as they do. And here comes the flop, and it's got 2 diamonds on it. Quad Fisher currently behind in terms of playability, you might think, but ahead in terms of raw hand strength. Equalize will be happier with the board, but Quad Fisher is going to fire out a bet, hoping to just clear up some of his equity, deny from hands such as maybe Jack 10 of clubs. Going to get a jam here, though, from Equalize, who just bangs it in, looking to take this one down now. And Quad Fisher hasn't folded yet, and may decide that there are too many draws in this range, and we can be ahead of them more often than not.
Yeah, normally in this spot, people aren't value shoving super strong hands. It's going to be an 8 or a draw, and Quad Fisher does really well against that range. 1 second left. He makes the call.
And they are going to call it off, and now they're looking to fade a diamond to stay in this tournament, and they don't manage to fade the queen. They made the right decision. They got the right read, but the Queen on the River is going to end this one. Equalize picks up the $8,140 for first. Quad Fisher will console themselves with the mere $16K for second plus top bounty. And a phenomenal performance from all of our players today. I have to say, I really enjoyed a lot of these smaller, more interesting, more convoluted spots that we don't see as often. Much less cool as everyone has a battle for every chip this evening. And Quad Fisher was definitely great value for that bounty and for second place. Equalize, who had the chip lead over the course of the evening, probably more than anyone else, does end up on top in the end. Aaron Brony.
Yeah, Quad Fisher does miss out on that last 2K ladder, which I'm sure would have been great to say, and I won the tournament extra 2K. But you can take solace in winning the 10K bounty and just playing extremely well at this final table. And that last hand, I think, is a great indicator of the realization of where they were at in these spots, right? And as you said, a lot of draws possible. They made a call, and Equalize still had a lot of equity. And they ended up getting there. But, again, well played by both opponents. Equalize did get that chip lead early with that top pair, top kicker. I bet they're a little disappointed they didn't get the big bounty. But it seems kind of fair. A big bounty for one of them and a crown for the other. So well done to these two players. Congrats, Equalize, on the win.
Yeah, both with huge scores. Both will be extremely happy with their night's work. And we can now move on to some equally serious business in the form of the Wheel of Justice. Now, we had a few absentees last week, Aaron. We're hoping that we can just get this one given out snippety-snappity, but it's not always that simple.
Now, do you mind if I spin the wheel?
Not at all.
The reason I ask is because if you look at our side-by-side screens here, it's clear that I'm broadcasting directly from heaven, and therefore, when I spin this wheel, the person who is the winner, who it lands on, is clearly the most just, determined by, of course, the poker gods and the Wheel of Justice. So with no, further ado, spin the wheel.
Beautiful. To the point, succinct, and did the job. And here comes the wheel spin. It's going to stop. I'm having some lag, so I'm not sure if it's Canada Rocks.
It's Larator.
It's Larator. And Larator, a famous complainer of never winning anything, ever.
Oh, no. Are they here?
They better be. They're always moaning about not winning things.
The Wheel of Justice.
Every single week, complaining and complaining and complaining about never winning anything. They finally win a 1 in 200 shot. And I have to say, Aaron, it looks like they might not be here.
Well, the poker gods are a fickle bunch, They decided, Larator, today was your day. And you weren't here. And that is very unfortunate for you. But it is very fortunate for everybody else.
I can only imagine that they're going to take this very, very well when they find out.
I mean, you must take it up with the poker gods, because I said they would land on who was deserving. But part of life is not just getting opportunities, but being there to really just claim them, And in this case, the opportunity is, yes, correct, is a $320 ticket. And unfortunately, Larator's loss is going to be someone else's gain. Do we want to count them down?
Yeah, we can't wait here all night. It's going to be 5, 4. Larator, are you here? 3, 2, 1. Get the command ready, Lime. It's time to make another command for Larator, who is not here. The Wheel of Justice does not lie. Spin the wheel. Man, that's got a sting. Imagine complaining all the time that you never win and then winning and not being here. It wouldn't be me. Anyway.
Oh.
Is it Jackson? Is it Polar Bear? I can't see what's going on. Jackson Poker. Jackson Poker, are you here? A famous proponent of A-State Poker, always posting things on their Instagram story. They've come second in our tournament before. They're going to have another chance to play it this time. Jackson Poker is here. Congratulations. You have won a $109 ticket. Larator, unlucky. You haven't, because you weren't here.
109 or a 320?
It's a 320. My apologies. It's not. You won't be able to. You have to use your own satellite experience to get into the 109, so you can play that. By the way, there's no rake next week either. You can play the 320 with illustrious names such as Aaron Baroni and Ian Simpson.
Do we want to give them an option of a 109 ticket instead of a 320. If they'd like to have
Yes,
less
Jackson,
value
would you
and less
prefer
money,
a
Jackson,
109 or a 320?
you let us know.
Yes. I want you to know, Jackson, this is Larator's ticket.
Yes.
So,
And whenever you
you
win,
know-
make sure to tell them this could have been yours.
Yes, please do that.
320. Jackson would like a 320. He thinks he'll just
Okay.
satellite into the 109, which probably will.
Yes.
Sounds good. Good deal.
Yeah, well, there we go. Justice has been served this evening. The gods have spoken, / Amberoni has spoken. Maybe they're the same thing.
The lighting, that's what it's like when you broadcast from heaven.
Yeah.
Just Halo. But this was one of the more different final tables we got to commentate because of the bounty in play. And it was really, really fun to watch it and just see how the play differed than usual. Congrats, obviously, to Quad Flasher winning the 10K and Equalize for winning the whole thing. But just an incredible tournament. I had a lot of fun. Hope you guys did too. And Nick, by the way, before we go, do you know what's happening this week? Any sort of 8 things or?
There is something happening.
Okay. So
It's happening, a continuous happeningness. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so this is basically Josh Manley week, which means he could win Ambassador of the Week. He is going to do Snap Attack tomorrow, and then after that, the next day, he is coming back. I think he's just staying actually on the channel for 48
Yeah, I
hours
think
in
he's
a row.
moving, yeah.
And then he will face your favorite undefeated Blast Ambassador, El Chur. That'll be on
It was
Wednesday.
my understanding that Josh was unable to do Wednesday. At least that's what he told me. So I would reserve your judgment on that. But he probably is going to be there if he's on the
I'm
list.
just the person who brings the information to you.
Hey, I know, man. I know. Furthermore, guys, if you didn't catch my announcement earlier, the Global League has started. The Global League is now functioning and underway. And if you don't know what it is, it's an updated version of the Global League that we ran before. It's bringing an individual leaderboard competition and a national representation as well. You're playing for your country, play weekly free rolls. You can qualify for the main tournaments every single week that are at the end of each week. And you can earn points for yourself to climb the leaderboard and maybe end up on your country's final 11. And if you would like to be in the chance of that, make sure you're following all the A-State Poker socials so you can be sure to get the passwords to the free rolls and have a chance of entering those tournaments at the end of each week. Use !global in chat if you want any more information on that. From myself and Amber and the entire production team, we thank you for your tuning in this evening. We had a great time. It was a really interesting final table, but it's time now to go to bed. Well, at least for me it is. Aaron's going to probably be up for a little bit longer because he's in a different time zone. But we will see you next week for another Rakeless 109 main event. All the best.